you're ready.
You want to lead us in the pledge, Jim?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Supervisor, before we get started, can I say something, please?
Yeah.
Sid told me I look tired this morning. I just want to say that after last week, sometimes politics make it for strange events, and as a person, I feel we all represent the electorate, and we should respect each other for that purpose. We're all put here for a reason to serve the public as best we can in our own ability, and we should respect each other, and we should work with each other and be open with each other, right, wrong, or indifferent. And although the way it played out was poor, I was reminded last night that it was very unprofessional. It wasn't businesslike. And for that, I'm sorry, because I've known Linda my whole life. She grew up right across the street. And it wasn't personal, it was political, and nobody deserved that, to be at least in that vein. And I'm really been wrestling with that for a while, and I'm sorry. So, with that said, that's all I'll say.
And on the subject, I would like to say that we had discussed it, 2 board members at a time, and deliberated on how to do it and which was the best way to do it. And in the past, when we were thinking about terminating the town board coordinator, we had received our legal advice on how to do it, and we were told then that that would be the best way to do it, so that we would be protecting the offices that that person had access to, because we did not think that it was going to be a pleasant situation. So we were told that it was at will, and that was the way to do it, because we did have the supervisor of the day to call for an executive session before the meeting, could have delayed the town board meeting for an hour or so. As it turned out, that's how long it was deliberated on the podium. I didn't feel that it was a good thing to leave the supervisor of the day, a young child, at the podium, waiting for us to finish an executive session. So we made the decision. A lot of people think that it was in poor judgment, but we do have strong reasons for why we did it the way we did. And, you know, it's an unfortunate situation. I did bring her into the office, and, you know, she was a friend of mine for a long time too, for 10 years. So, very unfortunate situation, but we're moving forward, and we will be working together to serve the people, which is what you put us here to do.
All right, Jim, what you said really kind of struck a chord with me, and I was going to do this, and then I got the man at George this morning, and so I didn't do it, so I'm going to do it.
I teach that.
I should have got mad at you.
I teach that on Sundays. I teach that.
So we were reading this morning, and I think most everybody believes in the Bible. I'll leave it at that. And we were reading Psalm 119, and I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to ask for something. Your word is my lamp to my feet and a light to my path. I have sworn and confirmed that I will keep your righteous judgments. I suspect that this is going to be a very contentious, potentially, meeting for the budget. And so I'm going to leave this on the table here, and when somebody feels the need to strike out or lash out at somebody, just take a look at the Bible before you do it, and let's see if we can't do this like men and women, because I know we don't all agree, and Jim, I really appreciate your sentiment.
And as far as I believe, I have not slept well.
It was a tough thing. Linda's a personal friend of mine, as she is others, and I will just leave it at that. So this is going to be, you know, I'm prepared. You know, I had this, and I came here yesterday, and came here. I was set with Bill yesterday and went through some things that I agree and don't agree. And so after Gio's done, maybe we sit and look at the stuff I agree with and start off on a positive note. There's some things that I definitely don't agree with, and I'll let you know why. And then rather than go and beat the heck out of everything, let's start out with the stuff that makes sense. All right?
And just, like you say, some of the board members worked hard on this budget, and hopefully it's nothing contentious, real contentious, but this is what we felt was fair, and we worked with Bill. We spent a lot of time with Bill. He'll agree with that. So I think what we brought forward is what the conclusion that we all had made with the financial administrator. And, you know, of course, it's here for discussion, but this would be, you know, you presented your budget, we presented ours. Hopefully it'll work out smooth, and I pray it'll work out. So that's for everybody, because that's what we have to do.
I just want to thank board members. I'm not a friend of Linda's, but I've known her for years. So we have a working relationship. And the only thing that I was sad about was that I was not spoken to before this happened.
You're right.
And that's where I'm coming from. That this should be a clear board decision.
I apologize for that too. You should not write this disrespectful to the elected officials.
I apologized in private for that to you, John.
All right, so let's, Gio, you want to discuss your stuff first?
Gio.
What not line, what one?
In the budget itself, you start at page 225.
I just have a couple of pages, 227. I guess we can start at.
Hey, Jim. Where is it? I'm looking.
What line are you looking at?
Blacktop, wood, oil, and patch.
Right, we gave you $615,000.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that, well, I give you this basically for this to cover on that. So you can send that to the town attorney's office and let them go over it. I know it's something new, but we.
I know this is new, or just something the town's never done.
Probably never done. We used to have one sheet before, all the years beforehand. And now this came to light, so this is the way it's supposed to has to be done from now.
Just to let everybody know, in town law, when the highway superintendent wants to pave roads, he must give a written notification to the town board what roads he's going to pave and what the cost is, and 3 town board members have to sign off on it. So we've never did this.
Yeah, that doesn't, we probably should pass a resolution as well, thank you. Because I don't know why you have 3, but we'll work through that. The 615.
The law just, it's a majority.
Right. Sorry, doing resolutions, my guess. The 615, the theory behind this, Gio, is you need to have a paving account forever and ever. You've never really had that. For as long as I've worked in the town, you've never had a large paving account. So I thought it was, we started you at 615. With your CHIPS money, if you put that in, you're at almost $900,000 or $915,000 or something like that. And I don't want to dictate how your CHIPS were spent, but we figured if you could squeeze out $900,000 every single year, your roads are going to be in good shape.
It would be a lot better than over the previous years.
Yeah. So that was the thought on the 615, and then plus the CHIPS.
Wasn't there discussion that the CHIPS money would be used to offset past bonding?
No, we would do, that's, yeah, we can't.
Well,
That was the problem, that was one of the problems. So what we're gonna do is, we fixed the bonding issue, and unfortunately that kind of almost removed George's equipment line, but you know, we'll work through that too with reserve funds, assuming there's no snow and all the other good stuff stays nice and warm for the winter. But the 615 and the 300 would be 915.
Right. This was just a total of all the roads that we went out and inspected. Like
was always told, asked to do it. When I inspected every road that needs to be paved, there's a list of every road on this sheet, and that's what I turned in. Whether I get it is fine, as long as I cover myself by addressing this too.
Right. And you're supposed to give this to the county?
Just the
DPW.
county, DPW, Gil Anderson, that also has to
You
sign
get
off.
some of these, yes.
3 board members and him sign off on it.
Right, yep.
I see a shortfall right off the bat in gas, obviously, because I don't think we anticipated gas going up 50 cents a gallon.
Right.
Well, I don't think it's gonna, that's not prolonged. I mean, that's
No,
up in
and I think the
Massachusetts.
GPS will help to
Over the weekend.
cut down on some of
We'll start at the beginning of the month and see what kind of totals we'll say, a couple classes on it. Next thing, we have a new line, administrative charges.
We reduced that, what
That was
line is that?
on, it's same page, 227,
at the end.
administrative charges.
That's the chargebacks.
Right. I just have a couple of questions. How is this going to be done?
Doesn't have to say it's Phil.
Well,
The administrative chargeback was $738,000 last year, or actually in 2012 was $768,000. What we did was, one of the things that the supervisor asked the state to do is come in and look at the way we do our administrative chargebacks. So they're going to start that audit shortly, and should be done by the first quarter of next year, and give us advice on if how we're doing it is correct, if not, how we need to change it, and whether or not we can charge highway and how and what our percentages in our chargeback, how they work. One of the things the supervisor did was said, well, we'll take the $750 instead of taking the hit all in 1 year and reduce that by $250 a year. So it'll be $500 and $250 and zero. That's going to wait to see what happens with the state audit. But for now, he's reduced it to $516,000. What we did is we took out the municipal garage and we took out the justice court from everybody in the calculation. And for your department, we took out the town attorney to get you down to the $500,000 to have substantiation of what we're charging you back. Okay.
the justification was you use your own attorney through those.
Right.
Well, I guess the question is, not only how's it going to be used, how's it going to be dispersed? Are you just going to
Take it?
take it, or am I going to get an itemized list? How is this going to work?
No, we typically just transfer that amount based on how we calculated it. So what we can do, we will do that in 2012 because the auditors won't be done before 2012 is over. And then I guess we can wait to transfer the 2013 money until we get a report from them. But at some point in 2013, we're going to transfer that money over. And depending on their report, we may have to adjust the amount we're transferring. I'm not sure that'll really be a supervisor decision.
But under the highway law, you're taking this out and putting this in the general fund?
This is reimbursed in the general fund for administrative charges.
You can't do that.
Well, that's what the state's going to come in.
I wish the
So-
state could tell us, because they
I should have put my highway superintendent to look at that.
Actually, highway law does allow for mingling of general fund and highway funds, it's the same thing. It does call
You
for
can
that.
take stuff out of general, put it in
Put it
highway.
highway, you can't go the other way.
The other way
Right,
around.
Well, that's what we're
not-
hoping the state-
We can't answer that, they couldn't answer that. I had them in my office during the budget process, and I said, if you tell me I can't do this, then I'm telling you I'm not going to do it. And the controller's office staff all through it and said, no, let us do the audit, do what you have to do now, and let us do the audit, because they're going to set a policy, I think, statewide, based on what they see in Riverhead.
They're going to come in here and do this, and then, as the supervisor said, when they make their determination, that's what's going to then make the decision for all towns.
But here we're just following the law.
Right.
The law states you can go one way, but you can't go from highway to general fund.
Right, but the controller's office doesn't interpret it that way yet. So we have to, and they were supposed to start in November, but we haven't heard from them.
We got a letter about 3 weeks ago saying they'll be starting shortly, but I haven't gotten started.
I'll just go by what's in my superintendent's book as far as transferring those funds from here to here. It should be done.
Well,
And
we'll
if it is done, like I always said in the past, let me know what it's just to say this money's going to justice court. Well, how do I know whether they're putting 5 hours in, 30 hours in, 100 hours in? If I don't have records of that, comptroller wants to have records on where this money's hourly rates are going.
That's what they're auditing.
So
They're
I just-
gonna recommend that.
They're gonna recommend something, we don't know.
And I assume if they come back and say that we're doing it wrong, that you'd get the money back. Correct in saying that?
Yeah, I don't know, because we don't have the money to give back for
I was gonna say,
maybe in the
this
year
money
you're
is,
in.
this money is budgeted in as a chargeback. If it comes out that chargebacks are not allowable, or it should not be done that way, then it certainly wouldn't just be budgeted.
It wouldn't be
Going
budgeted
forward.
next year going forward, is what we would hope, because if we had to absorb this across all the lines.
To lower your tax rate.
Yeah,
raise ours.
right, that's what we'd have to do, because that's what the option before me with the controller was, we are gonna lower your tax rate substantially, raise the general funds, not as substantial as yours, it would be lowered, and it would equal out to 2%. That's sort of the catastrophic way
That's
to
not
do
an
it.
easy formula to.
We didn't want, and they didn't want us to do that, they wanted to come up with the policy, so.
They had suggested we do what we were doing in our budget, wait for them to audit before we make any changes.
Okay, so within the first quarter of next year, you should pass.
Yeah, well, that's a,
No,
again,
I think they were gonna release it in the, what did they say would take until July, August?
yeah, well, depending on when they were starting, they were coming back and starting it right away. So if it's well, maybe if it is 6 months, it will be the second quarter next year.
Maybe, I don't know.
Guess the next page would be 229, the other repairs of equipment. We asked for 600, you're giving us 400. Every year we come up short on this, so I don't understand why we're being short of this. Right now, until the end of the year, we get last year. Right now, at the end of the year, I have $55,000 to last. I'm not even sure that, no. We're probably gonna be in the hole 55 grand if we keep going the way we're going till the end of the year as far as equipment repair. So we asked for 600, you gave us 400, so next year we're gonna be in the red.
Yes. Well, what we did was we looked at your expenditures. I mean, if this budget's a snapshot in time through July of 12, and you were at 193, so we're hoping that you stayed within 400,000. The problem is, Joe, we raised the taxes the full 2.4%, whatever. We raised it the maximum you can, and we gave that to you. I gave it to you based on raising it the maximum we can, because you've got to pave the roads, you've got to do these things that haven't been done. There's a lot of neglect in the highway system, and you're working to fix that. If you need to move stuff around, you may have to move stuff around, but to raise the tax, it's too late now, because you would have to pass a local law, as I understand it, to break the tax cap, and it's too late. So I mean, there was nothing, we kept you within the tax cap, I didn't short you, because your cost of living increases were far more than the tax cap. And
You think you're gonna go over, Gio, on this repair? Because, I mean, you're under,
We've been over, I think, for the last 4 years.
because you're not on pace looking at what you've done, unless there's a lot of repairs to go. Now, the latter part of the year.
Latter part of the year, according to my administrative assistant, we're looking to probably be 55.
So about 450 is what you spent?
I think it was close to,
You only had 400,000 last year.
yeah, but we're already in the red for that. We keep, in other words, we keep going over, so we're asking for 6, so we don't go. If you only give me 4, I'm gonna do it.
I would have to take it from something else. That's the problem.
But the problem I see with the highway department, his equipment is almost ancient. And I was up at the municipal garage yesterday, and I thought they were part of the highway department, because every bay was filled with
You really should take
his
it.
truck. And he has trucks outside waiting to get in to be repaired, because, and they mentioned it to me, that they're older vehicles, they're not brand new vehicles, they're all older vehicles, and older vehicles break down.
They require more
More
maintenance.
repair, yes.
And then when you
So
have a
that's-
hurricane or something like that, you're running them
Right.
a lot more too.
And that's the problem, and that's why his repair bill is high, because of that. And, I see that.
We're doing a
Right.
great job on trying to keep the trucks going, knowing what's coming in the next couple of years. We're program, trying to keep everything running. Most towns, every 10, 12 years, they recycle their vehicles.
How old is that, Walter?
That's 1956,
I
57.
I love this town.
But, you
I hate
know,
that
we
truck.
keep it around. Well, it's got heat now, so you freeze your tootsies off.
You got it running? You got the clutch in it?
The clutch should be, and I'm hoping.
It blew from the door, you didn't need to smoke cigarettes, it was
Uh,
sucking fumes.
All that's been taken care of.
That's your favorite truck.
Hey, it's the only truck every year you pull start it and it'll run to the
Full
end.
started.
That's right, see?
It'll run to the end.
Go crank it.
And then any new truck you got there.
It doesn't have
You know
a crank
something?
start, does it?
Yeah, it has a, we've modified it since then.
It had a crank start in
No,
it?
not a crank start. But most of the time you have to hook it up to a payload and get it going.
Oh,
because
yeah,
it'll sit
I
on
got
it.
it, yeah.
It's
Nothing
awesome.
can beat an old Walter.
Well, everything
I
is,
mean,
is
those
made,
trucks,
That's
everything
right.
is made real
Huh?
then.
yeah.
I'm not old though.
All right, so I just want people to understand that, you know, we're already starting off in the hole on this, and I just
I
want
agree
somebody
with
to
you.
say,
Well, we're gonna have to
your
address
budget.
maintenance fees anyway.
That's what I
It's not-
don't
it's
want,
the
because
cost of
we're
vehicles.
already being shorted from the beginning, so.
You know what, the real goal is that 500,000, if we can wean you off of it and keep that in your budget, that's where you're gonna wind up with your, wean the general fund off, and that's where you're gonna get your, additional monies to do
Right.
the things you have to do. I just can't do it.
I understand, I just want everybody to be on the same page, and not overspending.
And that's one of the things we have to look at this, because we can't authorize you to do more than is in the budget.
Correct.
So we've got to make sure that this complies with the, whatever it is, the chips plus the 615.
Correct. Page 63 looks like.
63.
That's gonna be in the revenue,
What is building maintenance? What's
it's 65, but
65?
that's the general fund.
General fund.
Yeah, he's right, page 65.
Plus it is-
The general fund, so everybody knows, the general fund pays for certain expenses of the highway department, including their administrative personnel, so that would be
Does he get paid
superintendent.
out of that?
He does, his deputy,
And
and
Does that mean the board
And the
says,
clerks.
clerical staff gets paid out of there.
And the
Workers
clerks, yeah.
themselves get paid out of highway.
We pay 4 people.
Right, so he has some miscellaneous expenses such as office expense and telephone and things of that nature, along with salaries for those people.
Yeah.
And that is funded out of the general fund. That's the page he's pointing into now.
The only question I have on that, we asked for 10 for this line. We only
Which
get
line?
building maintenance and supplies. Now, the only issue I have with this is, if we had one garage door open and break, that's $1,500. So, that's why we put it for 10. And the building's a little old, I wanted to make the building look a little bit better, take all that old stuff off and do some vinyl siding on it, make it look nice.
Can't
Also,
you use
if-
highway funds for that?
this is where we usually take that from.
This is, the problem is the general fund is the fund that's in trouble.
Right.
So there's no, it's not really a way, I mean, if something goes wrong, we're gonna fix it, obviously. But where we're gonna find that money at, you know.
Well, the whole deal is that we need to keep up the maintenance on our buildings, and our building probably is from the 40s. So I think
I tell you,
it's
you did a-
due for
You
a
did a
little
lot
bit of
of,
overhaul.
you did a lot of work.
I can't speak as to the shape of it, I'm sorry, Councilman. We did spend 2,600 last year, but we spent 10,000 already this year. So depending on what goes wrong in 2013, you may be correct, we may need more than 2,000, but that I guess is where we'll have to find it. Either another line in that cost center or somewhere else in the general fund, hoping that, again, I can't speak to the shape of it, we have to get.
What was that 10,000? Was that the new apron you put in and the paving?
No, that came, that came out of the lines.
Over 10,000 this year.
So you have an air conditioner, heater
What, did
system,
you put
heating
the-
We
system.
replaced the 4 heaters, actually, they're doing that today.
That may be where that
What
money.
about the wash bay? Did you,
The wash bay, we have,
you didn't put the wash bay in?
the wash bay costs,
Yeah, I know.
that's on, in this, I believe, this is like $200,000.
Okay.
Which eventually, you know, you get snagged. But, that's the only thing that, as far as that, I just don't wanna be short with the older building, and we need to keep it up like everything else, but it is what it is. I'll do the best I can do with what I got.
Well, engineering's been doing a great job stretching the other town resources for buildings. We patch things as we can to get them to last longer, so I guess it'll have to be the same thing. We'll just have to figure out the way to make it work.
Now, I know,
We've been doing that this year.
I know I asked you this question, and we're on the budget here. During the storm, you lost the covering over the salt, which has to be recovered, the roof, I guess you would call it. The manufacturer's covering that?
I talked with the chief on that. I guess we're gonna put it for both, under FEMA, and we have a 15-year warranty on that building, on the tarp. So, still waiting to hear back from him.
I mean, the tarp that was supposed to sustain 130 mile an hour.
I think it was 110.
It caved at 60 miles an hour. Yeah.
You know, we had maybe 60 there, maybe.
I was there on the rip, like,
Yeah.
It blew right off.
But,
Once you get a little tear in it, it's just gonna like this.
well, once they got the one certain portion got ripped out and a couple of bars let go, and that's what.
Some of the metal bars let go from
Other
the
side, yeah.
Now,
that shouldn't have happened.
do we have to pay that out of the general fund and then get reimbursed by?
I'm waiting on the chief to get back in touch with me, and I already made a couple of phone calls to the company, actually, so I'll get to let them know. I called the general contractor, we got in touch with Kenny Tester, took pictures, and I sent all to the chief of police and Kenny.
Why can't, if the bars let go, that's definitely.
It's just a sidebar, it wasn't a main frame,
Right.
it just was a sidebar that actually
Punch a hole
holds
in
the tarp to the cement.
Right.
So they're only like maybe inch bars that are on the bottom.
Mhm.
I think we lost 3 of those, but other than that, the rest pretty much stayed.
Probably when the wind got a hold of the top, lifting.
It lifted up.
I lifted up,
and
but that was
bent
the
bar.
greenhouse, it'll actually lift,
Yeah.
comes like a jet engine. Gets
The air
under there,
got-
and all of
the
a
air
sudden
got
opens.
underneath.
It was
I was gonna say, push it in the front door and got underneath it,
Got
picked it
Got
up.
underneath and just pulled.
Is there anything we can put on the front to stop that?
Oh, we'll modify something.
And you complained about that old building. That thing just kept, that
That's it.
stood up.
That's right.
You didn't see the video on that?
I did see it,
Tapped
and I
with the machine
think
the
it
whole
probably
thing
would have
fell.
stayed.
Yeah, I think you've got to close that front up and
All
stop.
right.
Yeah, we can
Stop that,
modify
because it'll
something.
happen every time, because
But
that's
it
tremendous.
has air vents in the back that open and close, it's supposed to take them.
Yeah, close through.
Yeah.
So if you try to just keep it open, maybe.
All right, anything else?
One more thing, we just hired 3 new employees, and let's say the cost. This would be under 232, page 232. When hiring these individuals, we had approximately anywhere from 30 to 35,000 left between the old guys leaving and the new guys we hired. I guess the question is, where did that excess money go?
$10,000 to fix your building, probably.
I was
You're on
going
page
$10,000.
232, that's overtime, right? You're looking at overtime?
Snow was 232.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's overtime for snow.
We'll put it down under this, just so I wouldn't forget. But anyway, if we, 3 people retired and they were making 120,000, and I hired 3 new guys and we're only making 80,000.
I think we reduced the budget. We reduced the budget for that.
We have, almost, I'll tell you how many people we have in for 2013. I think we have those positions in there at their rates. So we have,
We're talking about the new rate.
What would have happened, Gio, is that the savings would have got incorporated into everything else that's in your budget.
right now, included in your salaries budget are 3 positions. And regardless of what their salary was, it's at a new entry-level rate, which is roughly $44,000. And that makes up your total $1.8 million in salaries for base pay. So we've included it at an entry-level position as of January.
Okay, so between the time they were hired and the end of the year, is there any extra money, being that they were hired at a lower rate?
So you're talking about 2012?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the payout was on those 3 gentlemen, so I'll have to do that calculation. For 2013, there's enough to pay everybody the way they are now, and 3 vacant positions. For 2012, now obviously those vacant positions, some of them have been filled between when we did the budget and now. So in 2012, I'll have to calculate when they started versus how much payout we had for the 3 gentlemen that left.
Okay, I guess the reason I was asking because if there was extra money, could we take half of that extra money and maybe get a more seasonal employee for next year?
Well, the problem with that is whatever savings happen in 2012 is going to close at the end of 2012. The 2013 budget is for the current employees we have on the schedule, so there won't be any savings again in 2013 for that. It'll only be whatever savings happen during the year for whatever time period you were without those employees.
I think what Gio's saying is that from the time those employees left and the time he replaced them, there was a savings there. And then the fact that when they were replaced, they were at a reduced salary. So is that increasing his reserve fund to where he's going to be above the 15% and he'll have an extra little leeway to hire a part-time seasonal in 2013 if he needs to?
I will calculate what if all savings there was in 2012.
Well, there wouldn't be the issue, because what happens in 2012, you got to pay their scat pay or their vacation.
Right, that's right.
And so if there was a savings and they had, you may actually have cost you money. That's what Bill has to calculate. When you got into 2013, we already eliminated, we cut those salaries down to 44,000 apiece. That savings would have gotten rolled over into potentially the increased cost of health insurance, other things, your paving, whatever. It was already absorbed in your 2013 budget.
And depending on how efficient it's going to be operating now with all the new things you've put in place there, the overtime budget may be enough to be used for some of that too.
And new employees probably cost less than
You cut
vacation
overtime,
time
you may be able to
because they don't
find
get as
zero
much
revenues
vacation,
with that.
which is the point that you made, why you wanted to hire new people rather than consider transfers.
You got it for a while. So,
Yeah. Yep.
I believe I covered everything. The other thing I have is go to the air base this afternoon. We have a slow blower that they're getting rid of. Maybe I get it for free.
Oh, no, we love free. We love free.
And if you need generators, they have a bunch of them in
We need to get a,
Connecticut, Pennsylvania.
Can we get 2 more of those?
I can get them for you, but you gotta pay to get them.
Okay.
Okay.
You take 2.
I'll tell you, the last 2 you got, the school is using one of them, and it's excellent.
So if
All right,
you have the funds to
like-
get them here, let me know. I'll make a phone call to Albany this afternoon.
Yeah, we'll take
So
it.
they have
I could, yeah, 'cause
all
I could
the
tell you,
town of them.
the day of the storm, I got sort of costed by the report about the police station. You're probably aware of that, right? I guess the generator isn't adequate enough to energize that entire building.
Well, here's the problem, and
I'm
I'm
hoping
gonna,
FEMA maybe could look at that too.
Ken Testa, this is the problem with Justice Court, and it really, it's impossible for us, if what I'm gonna say is true, for us to have helped Alan Smith in any way. Judge Ehlers told me, did we find out different?
Okay, hadn't called me back.
Judge Ehlers told me that the Justice Court is hooked up to the generator. That he said the offices are, because every time they've lost power, and I asked him, what happened was the main 100 kilowatt generator, one leg dropped out, not both legs. The generator saw that there was power, so it didn't turn on. There was no way, usually when the power drops, you drop both legs, and it would have turned on. It was impossible, if the Justice Court is powered, which I don't know, Judge Ehlers says it is, we'll confirm with Ken Testa. We've done everything we can do. Once one leg dropped out, Ken had to come and start the generator. By the time he did that, it was on. Unfortunately, the generator, and what Judge Smith, and what I would have offered to Judge Smith, we are working the small generator will power the town and board offices and this room. And what they have is a coiled up wire where they bring it in here and they'll hook it into this circuit breaker. They were set to do that. Unfortunately, our generator for the town board didn't start because the batteries died. I don't know why. Well, we do know why, because those batteries are on an 8-amp charge, and it's a continuous charge, and you know, even a deep cycle battery. And it started last Friday before the storm. It started. Friday, the following Friday, it didn't start. So, you know, you got to roll with the punches sometimes.
So it was more than just inadequacy. It was just a bunch of different.
It was just a bunch of small little coincidences that failed.
That's right.
Oh yeah, he was
I
not
caught the
on
brunt of it. I said, oh
Oh
my
no, you
goodness.
didn't catch the brunt of it.
Oh, I got caught as he was leaving your office.
You didn't catch the brunt of it, trust me. But I don't, you know, we are going to get the RFP out. Ken Test is working on the RFP, and you know, with the storm, to get the design of the new Justice Court complex. So I mean, it's happening. You know, I know people don't believe it's going to happen, but it's happening. We've allocated the money. It's going to happen. The chief said that Riverhead Fire Department had a line possibly on a 100 kW generator. You ever hear anything about that? And they didn't want it. We said we would take it. You know, Jill, can you just, and we'll ask the chief, because if we get another 100 kW over here, then we'd be in a lot better shape. Because unfortunately, the 100 kW has a 125 draw on it right now. It seems to run, but probably not the best way to run.
Just throw that out to you for me, I'll call up.
Yeah. See if you get the, what are they, 60s?
I believe they're 60s or 70s.
Yeah, if you get two of them, the transportation, what is it, $1,200 for the transportation?
Not out of my budget.
I know, well, the school district paid for one, and
That's how, yeah.
And we-
Something like that for me.
yeah,
But I'll-
order them up.
I'll go get it for you.
Before we go, Gio, I just got some information on those two lines you asked about. So the repairs of equipment was $537,000 in 2011 and $394 in 2010. Okay. The building repairs was $3,300 in 2010 and $2,600 in 2011. So we budgeted 2,000, so it looks like we may need some more money based on that. I don't know if this year 10,000 was an aberration.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I didn't feel that much.
I was gonna make sure, because like I said, the
Well, I
building,
think
the building
you
is old, it's one of those garage door, let's go, that's $1,500.
Yeah, he spent 10
I
grand
think
down.
you got all those vehicles at very low rates, and you had to repair.
Repair those, that may have been 11, and this year
Yeah, maybe.
we were 324
Right.
this year.
So that's probably.
This is building maintenance though.
Well,
Yeah, no, that's I think he's talking about the $537,000
From the
No, I'm talking about the 10 grand on building maintenance. It's
Yeah.
building.
The only thing we did on those vehicles was the Mack
New York
trucks,
City.
we just basically went over oil change, stuff like that.
And New York City.
There was a couple of things on them, but
That's all.
Yeah.
I'll put it to you like this, the supervisor, highway superintendent of Smithtown called me up Monday
He's
night
still at 10,000.
with 8 inches of snow on the road, and he wasn't ready because all his trucks were set up for storm removal. I had 5 trucks ready.
And he wanted to borrow a truck for a few.
So he could have, because that's how
That's
they
right.
roll.
No, we're just saying that's why the jump in 2010 and went down in 2011 is because of the equipment you got at very reasonable or nothing, and it didn't cost us that much money to get them running.
Like I said,
That's
he
what I'm
was,
saying.
he was scrambling, trying to get stuff
Yeah.
going. And what happens is, when you're rushing to get your trucks ready for winter, hoses blow, things break
Yep.
down.
Yep.
These trucks are sitting there, they may only run 4 months out of the year, but you know what? They're ready.
Yep.
They, you know,
Yep. No, you're doing a good job. I just wanted to put it down from 500,000 down to 3, you know, was
well,
that
now,
period of time. when we
basically,
put
if
those
I get this snow blower, I think I'll be content with the equipment we have.
Is that one of the ones that they use, the big ones from the roadways?
Yeah.
That's, if you already have one of those things, it's the same,
I have
like
a small one, but for, I could use another one that way I don't have
Have
to
to go
drive
to
this
Iowa,
one all the way.
Road.
Yeah, he rode with me. It's like 3 days to get from Connie Bay Boulevard to Wading River.
Yeah.
So,
Gio, I think they'll-
it's all overtime, Gio.
I think the entire town board will agree that you and your department did a great job during the storm, so I think we
Yeah,
all want to thank you for that, and the way you prioritized, and, you know, I mean.
It took us
we-
forever to do Connie Boulevard because we were throwing all the snow in Cardinelli shop.
We had a tree down in our neighborhood where we couldn't pass, and your men were there, and they cut up the tree and they put it along the side of the road. I know that when the time comes, when you've cleared the paths and everything's set, that you'll be back to pick up all of this. So I just want to say great job.
Yep.
Well,
You
this
and
is
your
my
department.
5th or 6th hurricane, so I think I got it easy.
That's
Yeah,
back now.
great job. Thank
All
you.
about organizing.
I just
All right,
received
thanks, George.
a compliment on you yesterday, that you guys did a great job on the street out in South Jamesport.
You did great, James. You cleaned up. A couple days later, everybody put the stuff out again. It got cleaned up
Yeah, we
again.
were actually too fast.
On Main Road, you did. I couldn't believe how quick you
Right.
did that.
Thank
Good
you.
job, Gio.
Thank you,
Don't
Gio.
stay too long, you won't be able to put your hat on.
Before we start the next, the rest of the budget, I
Really?
just want to address, there was questions asked by Steve Romano, I think it was, at the last budget meeting.
No, no.
I just want, he's not here, but just for the record, so I've answered his questions. He had asked how many employees the town has now versus 2007, how many accounting employees and the revenues for those years, so I just want to give those numbers for the record. Okay, so the number of employees budgeted in 2013 is 301. Okay, I think we have 304, I told them was the number we had. We budgeted 301 at 13. We had 295 in 2007. And just to go back to 2000, we had 265.
Oh my goodness.
In what?
That's townwide.
That's in 2007?
301 in 13,
Right.
295 in 2007, and 265 in 2000. He didn't ask me for 2000, I was just trying to give you a little bit of reference. Accounting employees, in 2013 we had budgeted 13, in 2007 we had 13, and in 2000 we had 13.
Okay, because I have a report here that says in 2006 you had 11, but I'll let you take a look at
In
it.
2006 we had 12, he asked for 2007.
Okay, 'cause
We can go through the differences between my 2006 and your 2006 if you'd like, but he asked for 2013, 2007, and I'm just throwing in 2000 as a reference, but 2013 and 7 for accounting was 13.
okay,
If you have a different number at 6, we can look through that.
yeah, here you go.
General fund, so what I did when he asked for the expenses and revenues was, I did a general fund and townwide because of two different numbers. The numbers I gave you for townwide included highway, sewer, and so forth. So even though we only asked for general fund, I'm giving you both numbers. In the general fund, in 2013, we have $45,600,000 of appropriations, and we have $42,500,000 of revenues. Okay. In 2007, we had $35,500,000 of appropriations and $34,600,000 of revenues. 2000 was $20 million and $19 million. I don't know that matters, but $20.2 million in appropriations in the general fund and $19.2 million of revenues. Townwide now, we had appropriations of $89 million this year and revenues of $80 million. In 2007, we had appropriations of $77 million and revenues of $71.9 million. And then in 2000, townwide, we had $41 million of appropriations and $39,100,000 of revenues. So now that satisfies Steve's request that I did not have the information at the last one.
That's great.
So we're gonna start, I guess.
Um,
Ready to go?
Let's, before we do, wait, there's one other thing. John and I met with the ambulance district, and I had put something, so there's a resolution, hopefully this will be one that we agree with. I put in the ambulance district that we would use $100,000 of medical billing as revenue. The ambulance district, we met with their attorney, our attorney, and you know, I'm not going to say the ambulance district is ecstatic about doing medical billing, but I think they've shown a commitment to do the medical billing. And their attorney actually works for one of the districts that does medical billing. I think he works for 11 or 12 districts or something like that. And so they're going back to make a list of questions that have to be answered so we can move forward with medical billing. My pledge, if you will, to them was as long as you're moving the medical billing ball forward, I would go to the town board and not use the $100,000 in revenue from medical billing, because there's going to be probably a 6-month lag time to get it to go forward, and leave their budget this year, next year, as the same budget as it is this year. So it would be really no change it would, instead of, there would have been a small tax decrease in the ambulance district. Now there is just a tiny tax increase.
It's within the 2%.
It's within the 2% increase. So there'll be a resolution to change my budget to keep the revenues the same without using medical billing. And I understand in 14, right? In 14, that medical billing would be part of their revenue stream. So I think that was a pretty good compromise with them.
Yeah,
So what did we
I
cut
don't
out
think
in
that-
13?
No,
It was like 100,000.
Well, if you go to,
Yes.
the expenditures remain the same. The ambulance district little company actually put the same exact budget, expenditure budget, appropriation budget forward as they had the last year. So those costs didn't increase, there were other costs that did. But the change in the budget, if you look at page 368, and this is Fund 120, which is the ambulance district, it was very simply, we cut $100,000 off of property taxes and estimated insurance recoveries, the name of the account we used, for $100,000. The resolution is reversing that, making it 0 for 13 and increasing the taxes by the $100,000, which will still keep us within the 2%. And then we'll have to wait till 2014 to see what kind of billings the insurance recovery will
the
bring.
problem I see with the ambulance is we're not gonna stop billing for 6 to 7 months, by the time everything gets finished. It's not time enough to put money into the ambulance this year. But for that, if we start billing in 7 or 8 months from the beginning of the year, then we'll know monthly what we're receiving, and then we can use that for the budget next year.
I agree. I wanted to leave the ambulance budget intact for 2013 as it was in 2012 until we
Yeah.
made sure that we had
I
enough to
think this,
cover.
yeah, there's a lot, this is important.
Speculation, right?
And while we're on the ambulance, we spoke about it, they requested a new ambulance because in their contract, they have every 12 years that the ambulance will be replaced. And we spoke to them about that, and 12 years is up. And if we bid it out now, we will get, trying to get 12 prices instead of 13 prices.
Yes, I think that's very prudent of you,
So
John.
that's-
That's why I know you wanted to get the bid
Yeah.
out sooner than
I
later.
was told about, I don't want to, just to throw this out there, there's ambulancetrader.com is actually an auction house. I know Jude, I don't really want to do that with the ambulances, but they have like class 3 ambulances that 40,000 miles on that cities just rotate on 5-year basis. So I'm just saying that if we
Good luck with that conversation.
Always cutting edge on the
You
island.
get a class 3 for 50 grand instead of 200 grand.
No, but the problem with a city ambulance is the 50,000 or 40,000, it's like 100,000 miles out here because of the bouncing in the roads and.
I'm just talking about the, I'm just talking about the equipment on it is worth.
So,
Maybe not for that.
Well,
I'm not having that conversation.
You already did, you already thought of that?
No,
just-
I don't want to
Bill, I'd
have
just
that.
like to give a quick overview without.
You don't know what we're dealing
Okay,
with.
I don't know, right?
just quickly,
Let
the
me
other
see.
side, of that $100,000 on page 365, where you see the taxes were $1,223,000, and they were down from $1,303,000, so obviously now they're $1,323,000, up $20,000, just about $20,000. That's the other side of the changes. Okay.
And just let everybody know, every meeting I go to, outside the town here, with our constituents, I always mention the ambulance bill here. Nobody has said anything bad. You should have started this a long time ago. So this is what the citizens think, so.
Hopefully we move forward with
But
it.
there's some new programs that we're with Help in New York.
I just tell
All the new
them,
businesses, and most of the company
Yeah.
policies, Employee Recourse Officer, new businesses with no insurance before, it's gonna be mandated now. Most of them, because it's a cut rate that you offer. Well, unfortunately, and I'm still investigating, so no company that came to me, they don't offer ambulance service in that.
Right, well,
But that's another discussion, I don't think
It's
it's,
just that
we're just,
if the budget,
we're all
if the
moving the right
board,
way.
is the board okay with putting the 100,000 back in, we'll put the 100,000
Yeah.
back in.
yeah.
All right, what
The only thing that I just want to clarify is, it was, okay, so the budget was $1,303,000. Oh, no, that was the record. $1,341,975, right? For the current budget for 2012? On page
365.
365.
1,000,000, yes, 1,341,000, I just saw that number.
Nice, to the back, that's correct.
Okay, and then you're going to be budgeting for what now? You said you're gonna add
100,000.
100, and then you said something about another 20,000.
No.
Okay.
All I was pointing out was that the increase in taxes from last year is going to be, if we were decreasing it by $80,000 because we had $100,000 coming in as
Okay.
as anticipated revenue.
Got it.
Now we're going to increase it by 20,000,
Okay,
which is way under the 2% cap.
good. Because it was the 8,000,
Yeah, what-
that's what wasn't part of our last conversation. That it was reduced by.
Okay.
Yeah, well, this is all coming out to this, okay, so we're,
Okay?
Yeah.
yes, and just a quick, before we get into the numbers with Bill, I just want a quick overview of what these numbers mean. The first three columns are basically savings that we had found, some are revenues that we had found, and then, of course, some are changes to the post-tender budget. They all get subtotaled, and there's a number we came up with, and that's what we'll discuss today. The last column is discretionary board decisions. We have to look at them because you need a majority board to do
Are
them.
you looking at this?
I'm looking at this. Discretionary, yes. I think this is the one. So that's discretionary board decisions that we'll discuss today also, because you need a majority for that. If you go to the second pages, they're mostly personnel issues, they're all personnel issues.
This?
Yes. And if you look on there, what we look and I try to get a consensus from the majority of the board, because there's other things that came up, but we didn't put them out because we didn't want to put something out that wouldn't have majority. One of them was the personnel officer. We can discuss this later. The other one was the youth bureau director, which we're looking to put in effect July 1st, and we can discuss that later why. Another position, that were the two we'd add. The additional cut would be the part-time building inspector. And the
Which we all
effective
agreed
on that,
upon.
which we'll agree, but we can discuss that and go into reasons if we want to. The last one's the salary increase deferrals.
Wait, we talked about the part-time building inspector, but you have to leave
It in,
the
right. That's
money
what's
in, you can't
right.
cut
We
the
discussed
money.
that. That came in this column. That's why we didn't have Sharon's in there, because that, we left that in. The balance,
But the
30,000.
difference between Sharon's
Right.
and the building inspector would be the senior building
Right,
inspector's
which we
salary.
can, right, so we would end up leaving that in, we leave it in
We
the 30
left that
something.
in.
That's in hers is in already, but this was already printed out. The other one would be salary increase deferrals, and these are different elected officials and some, you know, department heads, whatever, that had come forth and said they would give back their 2.8% raise. I will say to the credit of town supervisor, he didn't put his raise in the current budget. So we appreciate it. But these are numbers that we had come up with that the 2.8 would be returned. So just an overview, we can go in discussion.
Chief accountant is giving up the 3570, that would be.
That would be me, and I just want to apologize to George. I did have a conversation with George, and we talked about how the management gave back in 2011 in order to save one person when they were cuts made. And I said to Mike, we're willing to do that again if it meant saving somebody, but my intention was if we had enough people to save to cut that, that's fine.
Well, we'll see
Obviously,
if that's
he's now, yeah, obviously now he's putting that as, you know, me solely out there, so I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, you made that clear, and I asked you again the second time, and you said if it was, it's still the same. So that's, but we'll see where this plays out.
I just want to
We
make
may
it,
need to save the
apologize if
personnel. Right, okay, appreciate that, Bill.
But George,
So
I don't
going
see
back
where
to,
you and I were giving up our raises in here.
It's in the second page.
Second page.
So what about the youth bureau? Why we did part-time, is everyone discussed that now? We want to go into the numbers at first.
No, I would go into, let's go into the numbers.
All right, good. So Bill, we sat down with Bill, different council people, and these are numbers that we had, they can change, that we had come up with as of yesterday, and then there's the discretionary ones, which we understand will definitely be debated. So, you want to start with 3 columns, Bill? We have the actual.
God, you can.
Okay, the actual savings are there. Then we had some revenues
All right,
that
let's go,
department.
Let's go line by line.
We're gonna go line by line.
Line by line.
All right, and accounting salary, for everybody that's following this, if you have this schedule in the audience, there is an accounting salary of $4,094. That was something that should be cut. That wasn't supposed to be in there. That should be cut, correct?
Correct. My proposed increase,
John,
that
you have
one
one?
did not approve.
I have one.
Yeah, we have the big one.
All right, so that $4,094.
There's a big one. You should have a small one too.
You got this one?
Yes, yeah, it doesn't have-
Yeah, this, I have copies.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. Okay, do you
That's
need,
John's looked
You
at.
got a copy, right?
yeah, I got a copy.
So,
Denise, do you have that?
so the $4,094, that is
That's real.
potentially a savings. I agree to that.
And that came from,
There were, what I originally had planned to do was, and we didn't do it, we wanted to try to put aside a pot of money. You know, if you're doing your job in the town, I'm not looking to give you a raise. If you're doing your job really well, I don't think the town board's looking to give anybody a raise. But when you have exceptional employees in this town, I tried to set a pot of money aside, which I couldn't do, that if you had like Jean Molosky saved us, I can't even remember how much money she saved us. I mean, that woman has made her salary probably from here until she retires. There's certain employees that are exemplaries who wanted to put a pot of money in, and we didn't do it, and this was part of that, and it shouldn't have been in there. And it shouldn't have been in there because we didn't do it, so that should have come out. The next one,
equipment.
tax receiver longevity. I want to, because I don't want to steal your thunder, George. A lot of this actual savings, we did the budget on the 30th of
Oh,
September.
yes, I understand.
So I didn't,
No, that's
we
good.
don't know.
We only could
Yeah.
work, sure, this was a great document, we only could work
It
off of
is.
this. But I agree with you.
So
A lot of these
So,
changes
but whatever,
are-
at least we could put it back, it's a positive for the town.
A lot of these changes
However they
are
No, I'm
post-tentative
saying they're
budget.
post-tentative, right.
The
We understand.
transactions occurred
You could work from
after
that.
the budget was presented,
No, that's
so
not.
just,
We understand that.
Right, so tax receiver longevity, since the election occurred, that tax receiver longevity, she's not getting that, so
the
that's.
salary actually.
Or set.
Salary, longevity, and cleaning and clothing, all
There's a
have
few of
changed.
them down there.
We had to budget for the worst case scenario, as far as the salaries we'd have to spend, and because of the results, we can save that money.
Okay, so we're gonna cut that. We're going further down the line. These are ones that I would not cut, and I'll explain why. You've got a police longevity of 1971, and you've got a, I need my ruler. Non-uniform salary of 1971 and police longevity of 18,832. And I'll go into the other part of this because the police department, what did we budget for overtime? 600?
600.
600,000 for overtime. And I think they came in last year maybe 630, 640, 650. When we took the police department from close to $1 million in overtime and brought them down to 600. Haven't necessarily been able to live within 600. I don't want to cut the police department further, and so there's a couple things in here that I wouldn't want to cut, and that 1971, the 18,832.
Just to finish on that thought, I had this, we had a discussion with Bill, and in the discretionary area, we were looking to put this back as the buffer for that.
Okay.
We said, that's accounted for, because I'm not going to push for these cuts. I think this should be a cushion, and that came up in discussion.
All right, so what I want to
Okay.
say is
So that will push it.
so the 1971, the 18,000, then you've got, if you go to the third column over, 35,450, which is your changes to post-tentative budget savings. That was that the FICA?
Retirements,
Yes.
no, that's the retirees.
Retirees.
The calculation of the final
Oh, right.
5.
Oh, right, we didn't know what retirees were.
Right, so that's
Yes.
another post thing, that's good.
The budget was based on someone that had a lot of payout time, and then,
A different 5 wound up retiring by
Yes.
January.
And I wouldn't want to cut that, and I'm going to tell you
well,
why.
that's not a savings, when you don't even have the budget, you don't even have their raises or whatever their contract for next year.
Right, and I want to go down, I'm going to go down to the police. There was another police department, FICA. If you look at the last column, 2/3 of the way down, you've got police department FICA, 41,754. Those are the ones with the police department. What happens with FICA at 113?
113.7.
You don't pay FICA. When we do the budget, you do the budget based on paying FICA for everybody's salary. There's always a little bit of cushion in the budget, and I mean, this is a very little bit of cushion.
Right.
My thought, and I'll just finish this statement, my thought, because we don't have the, we know, honestly, that the overtime is probably below what it needs to be, and we haven't really built in the police department raises to the budget. Those are ones I wouldn't want to cut, so I don't, not looking.
Okay, so
But
just,
these here are
we will leave
discretionary,
it.
that he's not, we're not taking out, we're gonna put these back in.
those all, okay.
Yes,
And that's what
right?
I understand, but we look, like if we stay with these columns, I personally felt this was the whole police cushion here, which is $100,000.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll stay with these lines.
Okay,
You're right,
that's
they
fine.
lead into
Yeah.
that. You're absolutely right. I understand that, and I spoke to Bill about that.
And
So-
even with
so I think we can
the,
switch it.
even with the money that we wanted to eliminate from the budget, there is still a further cushion based on what was reported to the retirement system on salaries for base salary, longevity, and for,
What line is that?
that's this document right here where we had $115,000 savings in FICA for police department employees that exceeded the $113,700.
That's,
You can get it right off the retirement system website.
what they're doing is they're basing what the FICA would be if everybody got the same overtime and everything else that they did for the 12 months ended March 31st, 2012.
But that's not part of our budget.
No, no,
Okay.
that's a separate calculation that they went to the retirement system, say what was reported for those 12 months. That's not necessarily indicative of what's going to happen in
Right.
2013, so we don't know.
So that's not our number, though.
No.
Okay.
But that's from the state retirement system of what was reported for 2012, and it's been pretty consistent over the years.
We need to know.
I don't know, I don't know about being consistent over the year. That's the number that was calculated, that.
But I'm
is
saying,
maybe-
the number for 2012 was 115,000, we're only taking 35, so I think that there's enough of a cushion there to make up the difference. But
Oh, we
it's
don't like that
up
number.
to
We
us.
know that
There's
number.
2% raises between that report
Yeah.
and 2013.
That wasn't budgeted for, I understand. And we have to figure out how we're gonna pay for the, whatever the contract settlement is with the police department. We don't know that yet, so.
Sean, what she's saying is that we're budgeting, we know what someone's base salary is. We don't know of that 600,000 overtime, how much that's gonna push people over the
Right,
base
no, I
that we're not
understand.
calculating.
But
But
that's,
there's no way of knowing that. You can go
This
back
is
in
not
history
a-
and say what it was 2 years ago.
that's an estimate
Right.
that's not even really reflective of our budget. So let's stick with what's in the
Right.
Yeah,
budget.
let's stay with that.
All right, what do you got next, Drew?
So I think that's
Continue
our-
down that column.
I think we're done. Well,
Fire marshal
800.
cleaning and clothing, $800. Was that one? I didn't put that in pink. That was one that we would cut, right?
Yeah, that's part of the first line.
Seniors cleaning and
Right.
clothing. Okay. All right, so your first line,
11 grand.
Well, no, Jim, we're gonna move that over to the last line. That's what the intent was, what he had said about the police.
yeah, I would keep the 1971
Right,
and
we can push it over
1832.
to-
Right, you're
Okay.
right.
All
We'll
right.
push that over to the last column, so I think that should be 32 should,
All right,
and
so
that we can, yeah, at the end, that's what I.
let's go, let's go
You
to
wanna go next
seniors.
line?
Yeah, let's go to seniors.
Depending, department head, you wanna just go down
Hold
the
on a
line?
second, I got something I gotta deal with.
Can we talk about the revenue line, the column next? We could just keep
Yeah,
working
Bill,
on
like,
that.
go ahead.
So I think now we can talk about the department head requested changes, savings, and the revenue changes that we had come up with. Senior salaries, 21,656. We agreed to that?
Yeah,
Can you
these,
explain?
so you know, and I don't want to speak for the supervisor, he can confirm when he comes back. These were numbers that, when we went through and looked at the revenues and agreed on what revenues we would get for certain grants and what expenditures should be, we can change, now 2 of these numbers are increased revenues. So the first $27,000 is a grant. The last 25, the last in that list, 25,000 is a grant.
I thought he was looking at here.
Well, we started up there, he moved
Well,
down,
that
he's
was-
telling
that
us
was
what's
here, that was
revenue.
on these here. Yes, So this and these two, those two, 27 and 25, are revenues that we're going to receive from a grant, so that would increase our revenue, doing the same thing, saving us money. And then the rest of those lines, with the exception of the 2,500, are salary savings in the same department. The 2,500 is another department salary savings since the budget that the department had said that we could do without that 2,500. That's Ray's, who's here. If he wants to speak about it, he can. So those are savings that were agreed upon by department heads since September 30th. So that 108, and again, I believe the supervisor's on board with that. Right. You can confirm with this.
Okay, so that would be
So
the next column.
this is grant money that we've gotten consistently every year, and it's a dollar-for-dollar match that wasn't reported as a revenue in the budget. So we're just adding it as a revenue.
Yeah, right.
The only thing, and I don't know if we just understand it differently, I'd like to find out. It doesn't matter for these numbers, but I'm not sure if that dollar-for-dollar includes benefits. So in other words, if we're paying, because I know at one point they said we're getting reimbursed $14 when it only costs us $13.80. So I don't know if that $14 includes everything, if that covers our benefits. But short of that, this is dollar for dollar. It can be added in revenue and be added in expenditures, and we may have some benefits to that, but not material.
Yeah, and you've got that covered somewhere else in here with,
Yes,
with the
yes,
extra
that's part of the
benefits
other
that
Social
are-
Security, right? That's
Right,
what we-
because you said part-time employees, all the part-time
Correct.
employees throughout the town, you hadn't budgeted for FICA
That's
and things
FICA,
of that nature,
correct.
so you have that somewhere else in here.
So
So I guess
These are all positive additions.
yes, that's well, we're gonna increase revenue and decrease expenditures, in essence, reducing the cost by the.
Yeah, you have the same thing, yeah. It's the same thing you have.
Okay, so now, if we're ready, we would go on to the next column, which is changes post-tenant budget savings. Okay, we're in the third column now, and the first one would be tax receiver salary, 8,000. Okay, explain that.
Yeah, those three, the supervisor just mentioned, those were three that can be
Right,
deducted from the expenditure side because of savings
right.
in some salaries that.
Then we're gonna take out the police incentive payout.
Yeah, there was a change in, and the other side is reflected down below, there was a change in someone wanting to buy back their insurance versus getting paid for insurance, and that's reflected in the next two numbers down below. So the total of all those post-election or whatever it may be is 48,000.
48,000, I think everyone has agreed to that. Well, the supervisor has to put
What
it.
is tax
What's
receiver
that?
clothing? Tax receiver cleaning and clothing?
All civil
what
service
happened-
employees get a clothes cleaning allowance, and because the deputy receiver is no longer a union position, it's an appointed position, we eliminated the $400 for the clothes cleaning allowance.
Right, 35 is back in again.
But that line totals up to
So-
48,346, so we're
The
just waiting.
salary for the tax receiver to bump back was an $8,000 savings. Longevity was $2,100, and cleaning and clothing was $400. That was all savings based on the result of the elections. Okay. So I believe all of the rest of those were, Jim just did point out that the supervisor was looking at that $35,000 for the police raises. He had put that in the other column.
Most of these
And you're being optimistic on your
after
side as
the
well?
supervisor put his budget in, that changes were made.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, so it was, yeah. So of course, when we get the subtotal savings, we come back, to 189. And I think what we all need discussion now is on the discretionary board decision changes, which
The third line,
we wait for.
third column.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So, Sean, we just finished the third line, and I guess the question now is on that third line, how much of the 48? I know that you wanted to put the 35,
Back in.
leave that there for police. That would make
Well,
that
on the second line, I think I agreed to cutting
the whole 108, correct?
the whole 108, yeah.
And again,
We
just to
didn't know that
reiterate,
we were getting that
52 is
information.
increased in revenues, and 56 is decreased in
We
expenditures.
had
A lot
no
of
idea.
nobody's aware of,
Right.
and a lot of this was post-election
Yeah.
stuff with the.
No, this wasn't, somebody should have been aware of that, but.
So the 12,896, George, is the 48 minus the 35 that the supervisor asked to keep in for police.
Well, it comes out to how much? 12?
Could that go in a discretionary column?
12,896.
What, the 35,
Yeah.
450? for discussion?
Yeah, that's what he wants, that's what the supervisor wants to discuss, keeping in there for,
Alright, so we'll move that
Right, I
over
don't
here.
want to cut that.
Okay,
See,
but
this-
can we put that in discretionary
Yeah.
and so eat some of those items up?
Okay.
What do you mean, put it over there? I don't know what that means.
Well, we
We
have,
have to discuss it.
for the cushion, I mean, you're looking to build some of the cushion because of that, I
So-
agree. So the 96, I'm just looking if
So
we
you're
can
gonna make
move
this
that.
35,450, is that what you're saying over here?
No, actually, you take the 35 out of the grand total.
I want to take it out of the 96, that we won't even have to nickel and dime.
So we're,
You're gonna add it to that.
add it to the 96.
You wanna add it to the
Or
96?
discretionary, right, but this is showing as a cut, 96.
right. and I
So we
think-
would be adding or taking away or just eliminating
I think
completely
that-
and don't have any savings there.
I think what the supervisor's saying is he wants to move that 35 into that 96 column for board discussion for 3 votes.
Yeah, that's what
Oh, okay.
That's what
Oh,
you're
I
gonna
see what
say.
you're saying.
He wants to make
Oh, I
that
thought we
100.
decided that one.
No, that's what you
I'm
just
getting
said.
ahead of myself here.
What he wants to do is move
Well,
this
this
35
is here,
Okay.
over here.
Yeah, because I don't want to, I personally don't want to cut that, because that's,
Ten,
a cushion
Well,
would
now we can look at
six,
Okay, so what is that?
12, 9,
So we finished the third column?
Yeah, we would.
Still, I think on the FIFE, that 8063 tax receiver, all that, I was okay with that.
Yeah, the 35, I believe, is the only one you moved over saying you
Right,
wanted to keep.
okay.
Yep.
I don't know why they were in parentheses. So I don't, subtotal savings, so, okay, I don't know what that means either.
You have to subtract the 35 from here.
That's everything in columns 1, 2, and 3. Just moved over into one line for the subtotal to add those 3 columns up to
Okay, so let's-
189,000.
We ended up with 13 now in that column, instead of 48, that'd be 13,346, am I correct? Post-standard changes, the 48 would get reduced by 35.
I have
You got
12,896.
12.
Yep.
What I have is the supervisor looked to move the 35,000, the 1,900, and the 18,000 over into the board decision column. So the first column goes from 32,097 to 11,294.
That says 11, I don't know why I didn't.
172, right?
Okay.
Yeah. The second column is still 108. That was all agreed upon, the 108, everybody agreed upon, I believe. The third column went from 48 down to 12,896. So what we shifted into the 96, or the board column, is the 35,000, the 1,900, and the 18,000.
And what is that,
Total
96?
comes out to
So that's going to be 35,450.
18,832.
18. That's an additional 56,252.
96,637.
And 96,637 is 152,889.
154, 152,
Yeah, I'll do it again.
889.
I'll do
All right,
it
I had 154. I might have been off like this in my head.
Oh, well, that explains.
You're-
I'm pretty impressed, actually.
I do the same thing, I can't.
That was off.
I know, right?
Well, you're right.
Beautiful mind.
That's a great movie. Oh, for crying out loud.
It doesn't really matter what the total is, because we gotta go
We
through.
got to
Yeah,
go
right.
through them.
I was just curious. So that's 152,889 is money that,
We may cut, we
That's
may
the
not.
that's the savings.
That's the last.
that's squeezing every little bit of water out of this
That's
water.
right.
So, right, so 152,889 is what we're working on.
All right, let's go, then we'll just go, line, let's start, the 2,200 for their accounting, we would cut that, right?
Well, I'm asking to, we spoke about the inventory clerk, and we used to have seasonal kids, and it was a $13,000 budget. We have one person. We're 3 months behind on 2012 because we had somebody leave. So we're 3
We've
months
been
behind.
using that person,
We've been using that person to fill in for for the person who had a
and we
3 months
used
leave
her
of absence.
in other departments.
So I may need that to finish up 2012 and complete 2013. Whether if I don't use it, obviously it's back in the fund balance. If I use it, we won't need it again in 14 once we have the inventory clerk. We call an inventory done, and the clerk that's doing that
So in other words, you want to cut $2,200?
I'm asking to keep it in, that's a board decision whether you're gonna allow me to have that extra, that money.
That $4,000.
The 2,000.
Oh,
The
2,000.
Yeah, the 4,000, we agreed to take out the 2,000 is what I'm
Yeah,
asking. the board to
2,200.
You
I would-
budgeted for 10 and you estimate that it's gonna cost
Budgeted for 10, no, we budgeted for 13,
13,
but the call-in into a clerk only cost us 10,008.
right?
So that, this is if we can't get it done because we're 3 months behind, and I need to have either a seasonal person come in or even overtime, whatever it be to finish that task.
Because he has a part-time employee in the accounting department that works 17 and a half hours a week. 1 week and may only work 5 hours the next week, so according to the civil service law, right, Bill, they can only make 10% of what that position would cost as a part-time?
There's 2 things that we have to clarify, myself and Meg. One position allows you to work 17 and a half hours regardless of the salary.
Yeah.
The other position allows you to make 25% of what a full-timer would be, okay? So that 25% is the 10,800.
Right.
My understanding of the position was that I could have someone come in for 5 hours this week because they worked 30 hours last week, because that's when they were counting the inventory with the department, whether it's the police or
You're
whatever it
averaging
be.
now.
That was my understanding, would have maxed at 10,008.
You're not really worried about $2,200?
Regardless of which way it
Because
is, what I'm saying is I'm 3 months
2,000.
behind, and I would like to have that to cover that. To
That's
cover
gotta
it
get done.
in case we can't get it done. So it's the board decision on whether, if it winds up being where I need a seasonal person to help them finish counting or whatever.
Or you're going to wind up having an employee do it. I don't have a problem with leaving
So
$2,200.
that was the reason for my request to this board to keep
I don't
it
have-
in.
I don't
It's
have
really
a
the
problem.
board's decision.
I don't have a problem.
You all right? I mean, I'm just thinking that, you know, if we could just tighten it up a little bit and, you know, make it happen.
You want to make it
Because everyone's-
2,000?
Yeah, because everybody's squeezed in every department. I
So
speak
why don't we
to.
leave 2,000? You want to leave 2,000 in?
George?
Yeah, just leave 2,000.
Okay, we'll leave 2,000.
I just, it's just.
Might as well just leave the 2,200 then.
Well,
That's
we-
fine, 2,000, 2,000. All right. The
Okay.
printing, I'm concerned at the printing that you cut the budget $1,000. And I say that because the accounting department prints everything.
Right. Well, I think when I spoke with Bill at the time you were on board with it, you're looking for, say,
Well, no,
$4,000.
there was a list of things.
There's a list of things we went through.
He
Well,
cut
You
out
would
2
have
pieces.
2 of this and 2 of this, and you said you'd take 1 of each.
Well, he cut out 2 pieces. He cut out
Yeah,
one of the
this
scanners and he cut out one
is
of the
computers, right?
Right, but you still have,
Well,
you
there's a
have,
listing, one of them was the printers, there was a list of $5,000 of which,
of which,
2 council people wanted to cut that down and 2 pieces out.
And we compromised, we
that's-
said, Bill, can you live with this? And he said, absolutely, I can live with this, because it was a matter of having 2 monitors,
You would
I
have the
mean,
equipment,
on
just-
one desk, or 1 monitor, where they,
I really needed 8 and I requested 4. What we actually agreed upon was an extra scanner for payroll and an extra tablet so we can do VMware.
And I-
Instead of having 2 of those.
I can see why you put in, it's easier to have 2 on your desk, because if you're talking to somebody and you have 1, you can put the other one to compare, instead of shutting this one down, going into and compare it, then turn it back on. It just saves time. I thought
And
it
being
saved time.
paperless
Or
or
with
possibly
spreadsheets.
from one,
Huh?
from spreadsheet to FMS
Yes,
and
I
so
just
on.
thought
So
it
this is
saved
something
time.
that you agreed to and that we
Right,
compromised on.
that's what the agreement we came to,
Would
that's
they-
why it's here, I'm not just trying to pull something,
Yeah.
he said he could make it work.
What you requested to cut it, that was not that. I asked for 4 instead of the 8 I needed, because I couldn't expect to get 8 all in 1 year. But what they requested to cut was I needed 2 scanners and 2 of those tablets in order to go through VMware. And that's where they said, we'll take 1 scanner and 1 tablet out. So it's not affecting the printer that I needed, and it's not affecting those monitors. It's a scanner and a tablet, which I'm okay with. We'll
Okay.
have to do one of those, each of those
Okay, well,
next
that's-
year.
All right, so we're
Yeah,
cutting that
that's-
$1,000?
So that 1,000 we're gonna cut
Well,
out.
that's, just to clarify, now this is, I realize there was a lot of meetings, so now it's up to you to tell us what's
Yes.
going on, so.
So that's what happened. I agreed to take 1 of the scanners and 1 of the tablets, and the other one we'll put off till the next
Okay,
one.
Believe for you.
Okay.
okay, good.
Good job.
Now we're down to 35. Now we're down to 35.
So I wrote it. The next one was 35,000. That's a great Bible with all the history in it. Not biblical history.
Yeah, could,
Well,
I think there's possibly a way we could work that back in, but we'd have to look at the bottom section and say,
You wanna go to the bottom
we
first?
won't cut any of this, and then we can take that.
Well, I mean, 20%, that's not, I mean, if you can do without it for, I mean, $1,000, that's a good compromise.
Okay, so starting with the,
I don't know where we landed. Are we keeping the 1,000 or taking the 1,000 out?
We're keeping 2,000, we're taking the 1,000 out.
That's fine. I don't waste a lot of time on.
yeah.
No, you want to go to the bottom? Is that
Yeah,
what
well,
you're
because I think we agree that we could not cut some of this and cover your 35, that you feel comfortable looking for that cushion in case.
saying?
So Bill, we start on the FICA savings, and that's 7,000. Bill, could you explain where it came from, or
That's
police FICA, 41?
Yeah, we have discussed that 41,000 is everyone over the 113.7. Everyone making over the 113.7 that is exempt from FICA, and that's what the supervisor was hoping to leave in there to pay for the payroll, additional payroll for the contracts department.
So this is not money, that's an actual, well, okay. I understand that we are in negotiations with the police union and we don't know what the end result will be at this point. But putting the, realizing that this is an expense that doesn't exist and keeping it in as a cushion, rather than maybe saving a job when we're going to have to figure out, this isn't going to cover probably whatever we settle on with the police contract. We're going to have to come up with money from somewhere.
well, yeah, this would, if you,
Or from the matter that we'll be discussing at the town board meeting in a short
actually,
while.
everything that none of this is money that's going to come from the taxpayers per se, because it's all just getting moved in and out of the reserve fund. So you're not, if we don't spend the FICA will go back
We'll go back.
to the reserve fund in theory.
Unless we save a job
The
and use
problem
it
is-
towards that.
But if you save a job, then you're dipping into the reserve fund,
No,
because
not if we leave that in there.
Absolutely. If you were to put a job back in, and the police department came, if you were to use these savings to put a job back in, and then we settled the police department contract, you're gonna take more out of the reserve fund.
Well,
So-
like
I
I
just
said,
don't want
we
to
have
fool
a,
the taxpayer.
No,
I
that's
think we're
why
giving
I'm
them a
looking
savings,
no, but,
and we're not, because we're going to take it out of reserve.
no, I know, but we have a special town board meeting at 12 o'clock today where we have, a tremendous amount of revenue that might be coming in that could cover those expenses, and if we could use this to save a job that I think are important jobs, then I think we should look at that. You know what, over the last couple of days, this has come up that we will have a revenue source that we didn't expect to get, and we'll be having a discussion at the special town board meeting. So take that into consideration when you're thinking about the cushions here and saving a job.
Well, the problem,
But I thought that was going to go into reserve.
yeah, it has to go into
I
reserve.
sort of
It's a
agree with you,
one-shot.
Jody. I think it's important. The only thing I find problematic, and I think I discussed this a little bit, is when you wring the sponge entirely dry, you really inhibit yourself to do any sort of maneuvering later on. And so I think we have to be very careful how tight we squeeze this budget.
Right, well, that's right.
You need
We're trying to work.
cushions built in for unforeseen overtime, disaster, whatever.
And the other,
And you keep dipping into savings to cover all of that, because there is a finite amount of money.
And then I just want to finish at one point, and then George, you can have the floor. But what I'm worried about, if we get this $1 million from this special town board meeting, that's a one-shot revenue. You have 2013 and 2014, you can balance the budget without, hitting that. It's really $700 to $1,000 tax increase across the board. Because in 2015, there will be not enough money to cover the shortfall. So if you put $1 million in today by this vote, you might take out 2015, and then 2016, you're back to where you were. So the key is every dime you can put in the reserve, even if it's one shot, you got to keep cutting your costs, because we got to get. I mean, that reserve
That's
around
also,
13.
but you're also talking about how far you spend. If we have $8,500,000 in reserve, let's say, and we're spending $3 million this year in 13 and 14, you're at 2.5 million, you just added another million in there, you're at 3.5 million. But how low do you want to go and project to spend your fund balance? You don't want to spend it to zero. You won't be able to make payroll at certain points. And if there's any projection, so the board has to make some decision at some point in the next year or so. Do you want that fund balance bottom to be 2 million, 2.5, 3 million? We're going below the 15%, but how low do you go? That's for this board to make a decision.
Well,
Okay.
we're talking about 2015 and 2016, and we're in 2012, approaching 2013. I hope,
Our reserves are below 15%.
by God's good grace, and that, you know, that the taxpayers of this town will not have to endure these economic times all the way through that point, and that we will be able to market EPCAL and sell off property at EPCAL. And if not, the taxpayers of this town are going to feel a tremendous hit in 2015, regardless of these jobs being saved and these cuts taking place and actual expenses, which these do not represent.
Well, the reality is that the decisions we made in 2010 got us into 2013, and the decisions we make in really this is 13 we're talking about, are what's going to get us into 15 and 16. If we miss the boat today, we won't have it later. So we really have to continue to cut and just put the reserve, because I'm bringing it below, my budget brings it below 15%, and next year the budget's going to bring it right to the rock bottom. So if we don't, you know, whatever we can put in reserves, we have to. I hope we can sell property at EPCAL. I'm confident that we're going to get the subdivision done, but we still have to plan, you know, the town. We've got to make the town lean, get it in fighting position to survive, fighting to survive.
Now, I want to jump on what Jody said a couple of, I think last month, about going below the 15%. We were talking about another budget.
Right.
And you were saying that you didn't want them to go below, or was that legal for them to go below?
Right.
And they were not counted in the 15% because it's not a general fund. Can we legally go below the 15%? That's what I'm going to ask.
John, this would be budget neutral.
Well, we have a policy though. We did make a policy.
All of this that's before you today that's being proposed, with replacing the 2 jobs, which are one-person departments, would be budget neutral. So it would be the same effect on the reserves.
Going back to the original budget, the supervisor's budget,
yeah,
which
it would be
reduced
budget neutral.
the 13 point something.
I don't understand why you would make it be budget neutral.
Because the spending is not increasing, but the cuts are balancing off the additional spending.
But it's not budget neutral because we, as I said before, we know for a fact, I'll put this out there, every police department, 1% in the police department is $100,000. We know that there's going to be some settlement of the police contract. So if you settle the police contract at $100,000,
12 and 13.
for 12 and 13, and you've got to come up with 12 and 13, you're right. So if we settle it at 1% or 2%, you're looking at 100,000 or 200,000. So the money right here is what we would hope to use for that. If you add staff back in, that staff that you add back in, every year is going to cost you $130,000, $140,000.
I'm just talking about 2013, and hopefully the times will be better and mortgage tax revenue up and everything.
Well, it's also
$1 million
these are numbers we
putting
can
back
work
in-
with now, so
The $1
I think
million
that's what
putting
we up, I understand.
And the increases to other police departments, we knew before this budget was put out.
The $1 million that you potentially would put back is correct, it's a one-time revenue, and that just extends the amount of fund balance you have. I just want to read your fund balance policy, which yes, you can change. This was put into place, Moody's recommends it, the auditors recommend you have a fund balance policy. It was put into place for that reason, so our rating was a good rating and so forth. The town board will make all reasonable efforts to maintain the total fund balance, including reserves in the general fund at the end of each fiscal year, equal to no less than 15% of its total operating budget. The town believes that this is a reasonable amount of fund balance to achieve at the end of each fiscal year as unanticipated events during the course of the year can have a negative effect on non-tax revenues. In an emergency or need to work to occur, it necessitates the appropriation of funds that result in reducing the projected fund balance in the general fund below 15%, a resolution will be adopted. So you can pass a resolution to
to go below that, or
So
state,
we have to
we'll move this
pass,
to
we have to
13
pass
to
a
10%.
resolution.
I don't wanna go below 15%.
Absolutely, you can't, you have no
That's
choice.
it.
You have no
That's right,
choice.
that's why I asked that
Right,
question.
but that's your choice to say,
You would
that's
have
your
to
intent
cut
to
10
stay
employees, not to
15%.
go below 15% in the fund balance.
Okay, so we're gonna have to adopt a resolution to go less than 15% of the fund balance?
Yes.
When before we adopt this budget?
Yes.
No, because the
Well,
budget automatically
It
goes
could be adopted at
into,
the same time, I
the
assume.
budget goes, if you don't do anything, the budget automatically goes into effect on the 20th. I don't want to use the word, irrespective of our resolution, our fund balance resolution. It's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Bill,
we
just to
can
finish
pass
this
them
up,
on.
because
Okay.
we're coming down to these numbers
I
we're
just want
saying.
to keep everything legal so we don't,
Right, so the
I agree, John, good point, thank you.
FICA savings, 7,000. The police FICA savings, 41,700. You know, like I say, is reality? Yes, but we don't want to cut it so close. We may need them as buffers. We got the 1195 for the non-uniform FICA, which is a real number, but once again, I'm looking towards maintaining that safety zone. We have the police MTA tax, and then the next big number, police hospitalization, the 28,790.
you're taking that out.
No, well,
Well, it's a negative.
It's a
heavily,
generous.
I'm just
Three
getting,
of them.
I'm gonna make a point
Okay.
to 28,750. And then we have the last one, police non-uniform hospitalization, which is 10,971.
Okay.
Those numbers, if we take them all out, we're gonna cut everything, projecting it very close. Things can go either way, we understand that. So I'm thinking, I know we talked about the 35 and the 18. I would like to maybe leave this last 90,000 as the buffer and put the other two back. So the bottom line is we would create somewhat of it, just kind of like a compromise to not cut as close, but yet, you know.
All right, I understand that, but let's talk about this because the police hospitalization is based on the assumption that we're not hiring the cops until March 1st. We're going to hire the cops.
After the
You
school
would do two
December.
hires for
Things
the
are
The
also-
academy starts in December.
So we're hiring them
If
right
we had
away.
transferred,
Yes.
at this
Sorry,
point,
the state's calling me under the emergency.
Okay.
Hello?
if this board,
Sorry to that.
if this board chooses to hire a
I don't-
I got it.
representative for transfer from another district, from Suffolk, from Nassau,
Yeah.
then we would have to pay their health insurance from day one possibly, and their salaries from day one. So it could be that, I mean, in all likelihood, are we gonna hire 5 cops on January 1st?
No,
December.
because I was talking to the chief, the academy starts in December, right after Christmas. So we have to hire these
You're going to be
people
hiring them in
in
December.
December to start the academy, right
We're not
after
having
Christmas.
a
Like
free
last
fall.
year, they
So
started right after
again,
Christmas.
that is another, you know, how much are we gonna save? Yeah, we can save that 28,000. The total of those last 3 numbers, all the health insurances, is a $22,000 savings if you were to cover all those.
I thought that there was a 4-month waiting period before these new employees could start collecting the benefits, no?
I believe there is for police, maybe we'll be able to
That's correct,
confirm,
and
but a
that's-
transfer, that
they would
doesn't
not
agree.
be,
Only leave this over.
it would be
That's what
covered
this-
until May 1st.
That's what this number represents, with,
Yes.
is the
Just leave
4-month
that
waiting
as-
period that we would be saving on these
Okay.
officers because they can't collect until after 4
Okay.
months.
Okay, they can't sign up until after 4 months.
Right, so they wouldn't be covered until May, so that's where that
Okay,
reduction.
all right,
Well,
that clarifies it for me, thank
They
you.
would be
Thank
covered
you.
in, they would be covered in April, but there's a transfer that would also possibly have them covered sooner.
Well,
Back in, I know it's
The
just
point
leave all
is,
this to cover that.
there may be some savings there.
Well, I don't wanna
Those 3
take
lines
those out.
combined is
I don't want to take these out,
$22,000.
so you want to take these out of the budget?
Those 3 lines are $22,000.
This is all cushy.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't apply to a part-timer that comes in from part-time and goes right to full-time, right?
This one will be credit on
Still
this.
They could not go right away, wouldn't they?
No,
No, there's still a
No, they
waiting
would
period.
get-
Anybody
still
that
have to
starts,
wait.
even,
So they can-
Bill, even if they
You
started
wanna
in
take
December,
this,
they have to be
you
here
wanna
for
take
4
this.
full months, it would still put them into May.
Well, that would be a budget.
No, it'd be May, all of January,
stuff-
February, March,
these-
April,
the
they go on May
They
1st.
started December 1st, they have
And
December.
So you're good with these.
4 full
Yeah.
months of coverage,
They
okay?
started December 1st.
But when does
George
it
and I have a
start?
compromise.
It starts at the end of the month, end of December.
George and I have a compromise.
Okay, go ahead.
George and I have a compromise, and he says he gained 3,000, but I don't know. I have stuff in pink, and he's got, and stuff's not highlighted. My opinion is if we keep in the budget the 18, actually, I'll start, I don't know where to start. The 1971, the 18,832, the 35,450, and then the building department, I'll leave that out. And then the three FICA numbers, 7,000, 41,000, and 11,195, 1,100, 195, we leave that in the budget. George is saying cut the 1797, the 28,760, and the 10,971.
So give us just the 39,000.
That's fine.
Okay, so
That's
we're gonna,
doable.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
And the building department, I actually have to leave the building department one in that. You have to leave that 20,036 in, because that's for the full-time building department.
There's two, I'll just throw out the other thought.
Well, that's on the next page.
That's all I have.
All right, so I think we have an agreement.
Yep.
So was that, these are the ones, Bill, you have what?
yeah, I think,
Let's
yeah,
just-
I'm listening to it, I'm just trying to. Go ahead.
We're gonna, we're leaving in 1971, 18,832, 35,450, the 20,036, because that's the building department one, the 7010, the 41,754, and the 1195. Leave those in.
The 778 is the one I missed, that's coming in.
Those are good moves.
And I don't, the 2,000 and the 1,000.
Yeah, that will leave
I'm
that.
okay,
Those two,
leave those in.
we'll leave those in.
And then we're gonna cut the 778, the very bottom, the last four lines, we'll cut those.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna do my math again, but it looks like we are cutting 24,852 out of that last line. $200, $1,000, 778, the 17 negative, the 28, and the 10 positive. My number's right, it's 24,
Six tickets out, 17, let's look at that.
no, it's right above the
Denise.
Are you following?
I'm not following it.
Okay, good, because we're lost
No,
right
no,
here.
I'm
Go over the map,
I didn't get this thing.
No, it's a negative.
I just,
Yeah, this is a
I'm looking
negative.
at the 38.
You gonna add that in?
So we did the
It's
same.
a negative, one over here too, so
Oh.
you're out ahead.
24,642.
Because we're putting that back.
24 in total, 24,642.
Yeah, that was.
That's what we're,
Total coming out of that.
coming out, right?
22,000. Yes.
And how much is going in?
Well, the rest is staying in, so 130 staying in.
Do you want to sit down there and see if he's
Okay.
got those
See,
numbers
that's where I
right?
made a mistake, I got 132.
I don't know.
Huh?
Okay, maybe.
128,607.
George,
That's my
yeah,
2,000
can
that
you
I
see
made
whether
a mistake
George,
before.
George just wants to just check the numbers, because she knows what we're,
I come to
You're right, 128.
128,247 is what.
see what
So
George
you
is
got?
got. What do we
Yeah,
get?
I'll show you what I have.
128,247?
Maybe I missed something. It's the board decision column that we're going for, right? So we're gonna cut 200 there,
Right,
1,000
that's
there.
gonna get cut.
Okay, we're gonna cut the 778, and then these three, which one's a negative, two's positive.
Okay, that one negative is 17,000.
Yes, right?
See, I was what I was looking at,
$87 million, wasn't it?
I would like to,
52. No, it's
I was looking.
We said it was 87. Huh?
Well, that's,
Can we,
so the potential cuts right now
Let me just run this by
is
you before.
24,642, but I have the negative 17.
Which
The
I was
last two
looking
numbers
at.
is all lumped together.
So I just wanted to, here's what I was looking at.
26,642?
24,642.
What-
Yeah.
I was-
that's his stuff,
And-
that's his stuff.
Right, what he's saying is he doesn't want it.
Can you add another $20,000 in so we can just?
Well,
Yeah,
17,097, if we don't
And I'm-
change that, if we don't change the 17,097 and we just cut the 28 and the 10, that'll get you another $17,000.
Right, which
That's what
I'm
he's
fine
looking
with. He
for.
said 20, I'm fine with the 7.
Okay,
What-
so I won't change the 17,000. Take
What's the
that out.
bottom line?
The bottom line is now 17,097
You're taking that
is
out.
41,739. 41,739 is the new number.
That's the
It's coming
cuts.
out?
That's how much cuts in that last line we're taking, yes.
Okay.
And then you've got to add everything together and come up with a final total.
I can do that for you now, and then I'll
What
just
did you say,
confirm.
41,700?
41,739. Plus
I'm gonna get my abacus out.
12,896 plus 108, 656 plus 11,294 is 174, 582.
What does that mean?
That's the total of all the
Everything we
every
did.
column, 108,
Okay.
right? The 12,000 for post tentative changes and the $11,000 for
Okay,
one.
that's before we do
Now we
this
will
one.
move to the discussion for
Right.
items of personnel.
Yeah,
That's before
this personnel.
that, correct.
But the 174 doesn't represent cuts because 50 of it is added revenue back in.
Yes,
Right,
yes,
right.
it's a
But
combination.
it's the number.
It's,
Right.
right, it's 120 of cuts and 52 of revenue.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so,
And so we left, how much did we leave in?
So we left 174. We left 115 in.
Okay.
115, left hand.
we got to credit for the 96.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Now we'll go over to the next column.
Let me just explain, we have two positions we looked at. One was the personnel officer, and the other one was youth bureau director. And what we had thought and discussed was, and I spoke with Ray about it, right now in the youth bureau director's position, the programs are up and running. Everything's moving in a positive direction. He's got the handle on it. So I feel that if we keep it going that way for 6 months, July 1st, we would take her in, or him in, whoever the person in, and at that point they could train again and be ready for the fall programs that come in. So if we do replace that position, if we did do it, I would say it would go effective on July 1st. Because right now everything's running smooth and we saved the town probably $35,000 to $38,000. So that's what I was looking at, some kind of a compromise that would, have 6 months to work, and if we feel something's in trouble, July 1st, we can jump right on and straighten it out, either way. But we'll allow in budget for second. That's my take on that.
John, you were okay with that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Jim, we didn't really get a chance to talk about this
Jim,
from
he's,
yesterday until today.
Well, I spoke with Jim yesterday a little bit.
I'm thinking.
We spoke a little bit about it.
What do you want to know, Jody?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm hesitant to put a position back, but if you're gonna put one back, it would be the youth bureau. That'd be the only one that I would go with.
And I think, right, the youth bureau is important. I always said that there's two things you don't mess with, the seniors and kids. And I think because the program's already started this year, the school season's already in place, a lot of these are already self-sufficient. But by July, we're looking at a new school year starting, so it might be prudent to have somebody either activated during the summer to start new programs in September. So it's probably not a bad idea. But I'd still like to reserve whether we need to, by May, things will be going so fast, there might be something like that.
But we have to that.
We have the ability to.
We have the ability.
So I don't mind doing that.
So I think
I don't
that's-
mind doing
Okay. So that, I think we all kind of agreed to that tentatively. You have reservations, and then we'd have to look at the personnel officer as being the other position we were looking to save, and you may want to, whoever, talk about that.
Well, I've expressed that I think it's an important position for the town. I think that it's, we are a large town. Town of Southampton has a personnel director. Other towns around us have a personnel director. Southold doesn't have a personnel director. But if there was a better way to do it than what's been presented, rather than sharing the personnel files amongst the accounting department, the law department, the supervisor's office, and the person that handles the insurance for the town, then I would like to hear a better proposal, because I think that those personnel files are confidential and should be used only for the purposes of, I just don't like the idea that too many hands would have access to the file and that they could be used the wrong way to influence somebody or to make a decision that they may not agree with because of fear of retribution or retaliation. And that's why I think that the personnel officer who I've heard from several employees in the town, including our internal auditors, that say that she's doing a fabulous job and that all the files are complete and they're up to date. And I just think that something might get lost in the town when you eliminate a one-person department.
Well,
I think that there's other departments in the town that are much bigger, that if we were going to look to cut, that we should look to the bigger departments to do more with less, rather than eliminating a department altogether.
All right, well, the way I looked at this is, I looked at the East Hampton model. They had 4 people in the personnel department. They cut it to 1. We have 1 person potentially in the personnel department, that's Jean Molosky. Yes, she does do the insurance. For the town up until 2006 or 2007, we didn't have a personnel officer. There is an absolute way to deal with it without having a personnel officer. The reason they hired the personnel officer was because there were some potential conflicts between you making payroll and being, because Jack Hansen was the de facto personnel officer. There's a way to deal with that through the town attorney's office, through Jean Molosky continuing to do what she does, and through Bill Rothar doing, or the accounting department doing the accounting function. I'm not going to interject my office because, hey, the supervisors come and go. You don't know who it is, but you can absolutely set up the office that the conflict is resolved with the town attorney's office, and that the town attorney would have the final say on that conflict. That's why the personnel officer was hired. And what I'm saying is, if we did it this way through 2006 or 7, and we were able to continue, do it for that long, we need to go back and look at that again, because the bottom line is, if you add $105,000 to the budget, you're going to add it this year, next year, and the year after, and you don't have the ability to raise the revenues to keep that position in there. So if it's not this position, and here's, this is an uncomfortable decision for me to make. I didn't go through bump and retreat. I would have had in order to accomplish the same goals, budgetary goals, I didn't go to the union this time. The union gave a lot. We went to the non-union employees to give to some extent this time, and if you go to the union well again, you're cutting people like clerk typists, and when you cut, or if you cut somebody high, you're going to spit out a clerk typist in the end. And so to get the same bang for the buck, you're probably cutting 2 or 3 people. So it's an uncomfortable position, but I went for the higher salary people because I know this is not a conversation for the personnel officer. I went to the higher position to try to accommodate the financial goals, knowing that we didn't have this person before, and East Hampton has 1, Southold has none. Going back to that model.
Well, I remember early on, these discussions were happening 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. And believe me, I understand. I mean, you got to try to service the community with as few of costs effective as you can, because the cost of municipal employees is just out of control, and it's self-benefit. It's all the reasons that it happens. My only concern at that time, and I said it then, I said it now, and I'd probably be more discussion on it, is I understand when you have to trim the sales. You have to do that, because otherwise you're not going to stay the course. My concern is how it's going to affect the employee. And now you touched on it a little bit. That really is my answer. When you cut a service like something, the auditors at the time, in 2005 or 6, said that really was something that should be segregated out of accounting because it should be separate, or because of conflicts that might arise through payroll, or whatever the reasons were. I don't remember all the reasons were at the time, I wasn't here, but if the town can absorb those services where it doesn't affect the employees in their day-to-day life, whether it deals with medical or whatever the personnel officer for, how the town can absorb that role and it be seamless with the employee. Illustrate that to me. I mean, like I said, I'm not married one way or the other, but I just want to make sure the employees aren't affected by a decision we do.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you can. I think Jean Molosky is part of that equation. For the time, a lot of the employees work through Tara McLaughlin. She's key to that equation now, but I don't want to just tied to the supervisor's office, because in case there's changes. But I think that we can come up with a situation where Jean is going to be the point of contact for the personnel. Maybe she is weaned off some of the insurance stuff, because the insurance stuff could be incorporated into the accounting department more. Keep Jean more as the front person for the personnel, and where there's a conflict, you can either have Jean work the way Meg used to work, well, it still works, the department's work for the supervisor. You can have Jean report to the supervisor's office, not to Bill, so that removes that conflict. And when there's issues that have to be resolved, if there's a conflict, that's going to be resolved at the town attorney's office. Payroll, they're mainly payroll issues.
And I hate to sound naive, but I am, and I've been called stupid a lot, and other things. The personnel officer probably has to network with a bunch of different, they have to network with accounting and payroll and legal and unions. So it's not an exclusiveness to the job.
Well, I have to agree with Councilwoman Giglio. The only reservation I have is that we have conflict down there, and we have to solve this conflict we're having. And this is a way to solve that conflict. I mean, we can't have this conflict going on all the time. And we do have a conflict down there where you got two department heads that are button heads. And I asked people to calm down. They didn't. So I do have a conflict with that, because everybody knows how I feel. So, and I agree with you. I think we need a personnel director, but I think we need somebody that's not those butt heads.
I don't want to go into that.
Yeah,
scenario,
I'm just, that's my personal feeling.
If you had one person, in the person that we always had, which was Jean Molosky, who did it part-time and kept her more of a full-time role of personnel, you have your one person. You have your point of contact.
Yeah, but we're a big town, like Jody said, and we have a lot more. We have a lot more. They have one full-time. Does she take care of the insurance too?
That's what I'm saying.
You don't
have
know.
to move the insurance out.
So that's what you're doing. All you're doing is changing. And Jean does a great job. She knows all the insurance companies. She negotiates a great job with the insurance companies. And I can't see putting new people in that position that have to learn their way with the insurance companies, get introduced. The insurance companies trust her, and as she trusts the insurance companies that she has to deal with on a day-to-day, a month-to-month,
And
a
that's why
year-to-year
she's
basis.
so instrumental in saving us a lot of money.
That's why she's so instrumental,
Yes,
yes.
but the problem is
So that's my,
you don't
that's
have
my.
the money. If
Well-
you add these two staff members back, you're putting yourself that much further behind the 8 ball. And I understand there's a lot of personalities here, but you're putting yourself that much
Well,
further behind.
that's why I tried to take that out.
$125,000.
With that number, I'm just saying with this savings that occurred, one way or another, we probably almost covered it and have a little left of that. But here's my argument about, I think, whether it's a big corporation, it's a bank, whatever, you need a personnel director. And I think it's confidential, and I'm very nervous about splitting it off in 4 different groups or town departments, getting their hands on it. I'm not saying that's anything wrong with people. I'd rather have it more centralized.
I'm not sure that doesn't happen now anyway.
Well, no, like you had said, John, you got to integrate. They've got to work with all the different. But you still need these confidential personnel records have to be under one.
Right, I don't think there's any exclusivity to any one person. I agree.
But I know, and I just want to say this, but like, I don't feel it should be in, nothing to do with you, because things change and people come and go, but I don't think it should be in the supervisor's office. And, it's, because, whoever's here could be a little, not that you would make it, but I think it could be a little political because the next administration, and it keeps changing. It's not a seamless run, so that makes me a little nervous.
That's why
I would
said
like
the
to keep it.
and the town.
Well, you had also mentioned whatever.
Well, for the way it is now, but it doesn't have to be that way. You
Right.
leave it in
And so it seems to me there's one bone of contention here, and that's possible conflict where it is now. And, being where, it is, John had mentioned, etc. And I had a conversation with Jim, and we just had a quick conversation about it, and we had thought that, had suggested that maybe it would work if that was moved out of that building. This way, whoever's there, that conflict will go away. And we had a little discussion on that, and I think that could resolve your concerns. But I personally feel strongly about having a person.
Well, that's why I didn't want to go into person. I wanted to keep it on a level of looking at it as an organization,
right.
Whether that void could be filled coherently, I mean, seamlessly for the employees. I was trying to take all the drama and all that stuff that I'm tired of dealing with and just forget all that. And let's just look at as a structure if the town can move safely past that without having that there. And it seems like we can.
Why don't you sit, because I want to take this, why don't you and somebody else see if you can form that structure. You don't have a lot of time, but see if you can form that structure, and then.
But I think that really is the rub for me. It's not personality. It's not bog-heading. It's how important is this job in the structure of the personnel of a working government? And is it that important?
Why don't you? I think that would be good because I think you're being objective with it. See if you can come up with a structure that works. If you don't, then come back to the board. The real issue for me, it's not personalities, it's not positions, it's savings. And the $174,000, which about 50 of it was revenues that we now know we're going to get that we didn't get, is a pittance compared to the expenses we know we're going to incur. We believe that we believe that there's going to be about $200,000 in payroll increases for the police department. So we barely cover that. So there's no money.
We left a little buffer for it.
But barely,
right, barely.
The whole buffer would be that 174 right. Plus what I put in there. That would be the buffer.
Right. Wow.
But there's other expenses. Let me just give you some other. You have to look at the whole picture. This entire 174 plus what I've left in the budget, well, you know, the pink here in the budget would cover 1 year's for the police department. So there isn't any savings. That would be 1 year. Longevity, not longevity, buybacks, health insurance, not health insurance. What's the buybacks?
Accrued time buybacks.
Accrued time buybacks. We have no idea what they're going to be. We suspect
they come in $200,000.
They come in $200,000.
PVA?
No.
SOAs. The 4 SOA guys leaving us over $1 million, right?
No, just buy back on a regular basis.
That's but I just want to show you that.
Speculative, right?
No, they're not.
Well, we'll come down. But all.
No, but it's not budget. There's no. The 200, the buybacks. I want to focus you on where there's no savings. Everything we did here doesn't constitute a savings to anybody because the police department is going to eat up everything we did today.
We left some buffer in there.
There's no buffer.
There's
no buffer because it's 174.
Well, then we can take all these numbers out down here. What do we use it for? Because it was projected.
Yeah, but
so
you take. Wait. What? 174 plus the. What was the total?
174 is the total that we're
savings plus what I left in the budget.
The 174 is the total.
174 is the total. So that doesn't cover.
Another 174.
Yeah, that doesn't cover the health insurance. Now, every year, people, and you know, it's uncomfortable to say this, but every year, because it's not in the budget, we find the money every place to get it. And as Jim's analogy of squeezing the sponge, this is a problem. The buybacks from the SOA, the department heads, average $200,000 a year. There's not a budget line for that. Bill goes at the end of the year and he squeezes the rags some more to find it.
We still did that the same.
Whatever, okay, I understand that. But we came to this number, and I have to work with is this.
Right.
So that's not in there, so we're working with the supervised budget. We understand it's all speculative, it will happen or may not happen, but these numbers came in.
Yeah, you're 100%
okay.
right. But so, what I'm saying is there's another $400,000.
All things can happen, I agree.
There's another $400,000 right there potentially that there's another $400,000.
I probably would have put an estimate of what we would give the police in there. I know you don't want to tip your hand sometimes, that's probably a good negotiating tool, but, you know, in fairness, if you did that, I think we'd have a better handle of exactly.
Well, we kind of do it,
So
comes out of reserve anyway.
So,
I know.
I couldn't budget it anyway, because I couldn't get to the 2%.
so getting back to the point of that issue, so the youth bureau thing, I think everybody, we had agreement on that, it's just personnel officer.
Yeah, there's no money.
So how do we gonna,
There's no
how do we
money for the
wanna do this?
personnel officer. What I asked Jim, because
Yeah, let me.
if Jim can take a look at it to see if there's a way to do it
we would have that,
without
because
the
we need to
personnel.
consent to it, we'll have to find out.
I'll do it.
All right, then we'll
If
wait,
there's a
so wait there from Jim.
I'll look at it.
Yeah, if there's a mechanism to do it, then my vote is to leave it the way it is. You know, maybe we get rid of the office for a year, if we give it a shot and it doesn't work, then you bring the position back. If it works, it works. It's just like the youth bureau. We're potentially going to give it 6 months. If it works, we may reevaluate and say you don't need it.
I really just, what I really want to do is look at exactly what the vote was that went back in 2005. Look at what that whole reasoning was, look at that report, and then I want to check with the account.
And then let's talk to.
So that's the one issue we haven't,
Supervisor Wilkinson, you know.
okay. So that will resolve the next day, just that one issue, personnel officer. The rest will all come to agreement, I think, on. There's one other thing I didn't put in, it's a small item, but it was the salary increase deferrals, which is $93.55, which would go back in. But Bill.
Well, you can't ask Bill.
No, he won't.
No.
So Bill, you want to take yours out?
Yeah,
So
take
take
yours
yours
out.
out, so take Bill's out, that's fine. So what do we have left? Can you add those numbers together? So that's a positive to throw back. 1, 2,
70, 41, I'll subtract it.
It's on there.
1, 5,
Yeah.
You gotta take it off, because if you don't get the.
Well, we don't know if
personnel-
we're taking it off or not. Yes,
so
that we
that
don't.
11. And I did it in my head.
I don't know what you're adding up, 1357.
1357, 1155.
What's the 1155 for?
Town board coordinator wouldn't get a raise.
Actually, I want to talk to you about town board coordinator. You realize that you shouldn't be paying your town board coordinator when you
Yes,
find one higher than.
No, we just
It's
straightened out.
actually, no, we're gonna actually, there's another savings in
We
here.
just straightened it
We
out.
just straightened it out. We
Okay,
can go-
we straightened that
Actually,
out.
we didn't put that in here. That would be, yeah,
Yeah, we just straightened that out.
that's good.
But
So
the
you
town
can
board
add-
coordinator didn't sign on to do the leg pay or the givebacks in
But she's
2000.
not here anymore, so it doesn't matter.
So you have the.
So that's why we just took that
He's
out.
got a calculator. Yeah, those first.
I do, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, those first three numbers, we won't add the personnel officer yet, until we decide if we're saving her, then we figure that as a savings. So we can't put that.
So you're adding 1357 twice?
3867 is that line.
How much?
3867.
3867, so that would go back into the, on the 174.
Yeah.
So we got 178 on that number, 178,449, because we had that back in. And Jim's gonna look at the personnel officer, we'll have some discussion, we can make a decision.
Accrued time.
Accrued time at the end of the year. The SOA in their contract, I think within 30 days, if they said, look, I want 50 days, to, you know, they.
I don't know that there's ever been a line for buybacks. It was always taken out of health insurance.
Or it's absorbed in the overtime, wherever they pay that as salaries, but they'll move it from overtime, depending on where they try and find the funds, but.
Basically, you ring in the rag and you ring in the rag and you hope there's a drip at the end of the year.
But the buyback was
Or
an
bubbles got
employee
down.
that did have a tremendous amount of buyback that he could have cashed out in 2013 if, when he retired, and we would have had to pay him, but he didn't retire.
No, the buyback is your accrued vacation time. You
Right.
can buy it back at any time as long as you have a certain amount of time in the bank.
You can buy
I
back
thought
up to
this was a
50
buyback
days.
payout. It was out of the buyback line, because they're under the same category.
No, buyback is
Right, George?
Yeah.
health insurance. Not health insurance, vacation time. When you have accumulated a certain amount of vacation time as a department head,
You lose, if you can't take
Right.
it, you lose it.
and that has always just come out of other budget lines. That's what I'm saying. Just those two figures there.
Ask for that.
Yeah.
We transferred to the.
Yeah.
But this year you budgeted for this employee to retire, and you had 35,000 in there as a
It's
buyback.
not the same
No,
issue.
which employee, I'm sorry.
When you go to,
You're going back to 35,000 on
Yes.
those sheet.
Yeah, It's not.
The
We're talking about buyback.
$35,450 police incentive payout, it's not a buyback, it's a payout. It was
That's not what I was
anticipated
talking
that,
about.
That's a different number, that's what
that's
they,
what he was asking
you
about.
know, that's what they still have, they don't buy back every dollar, that, everyone has a different accrued
This
balance.
was a payout for anticipated retirees, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But how does that affect the buyout number? I'm not sure how, I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay.
There's no buyout on
it doesn't.
here.
It's not the same issue.
There's no buyback on here,
Right, there's no issue.
right.
The
There's a
issue
payout.
is, there's a bill that's gonna come due, and somehow that
Has to be
money
paid.
has gotta get rung to pay that bill.
Has to be paid.
That's why we're
It's
leaving
gotta
it in.
be- You did? Okay. All right, are we done? Jim, you're gonna
Yeah, I'm gonna.
do your homework on that.
Yep.
You know, the only thing I didn't, I'm sorry, I think I looked, the additional cuts to 22,213, where did we stand on that? Because I have everything else that's
22, what was 22?
Yeah,
That's building department.
Yeah,
You
building
have to
department,
leave that in
we'll
because
leave
we're
it.
gonna, right.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that buffer in case we have another hire.
So I will go back and
You wanna-
summarize all this and shoot the entire town board where we stand, so everybody agrees that I didn't misunderstand something.
Okay, very good, Bill.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, Bill.
I guess youth bureau's already been discussed.
what's that?
I guess youth bureau's already been discussed.
I guess we're good. Do you need anything else? Okay, good. Youth Bureau is good. I think
Do we
there's,
have anything else on the agenda?
yeah, we have a 12:30 meeting, and we have marriage officer, we wanted to discuss.
That's a
that.
fast thing.
Diane, come in.
I spoke to Diane.
Yeah, I think John's gonna talk about it, you don't even need to
Yeah,
bring your
it's
own.
just a fast thing.
Yep.
That when they're in this building, they do not charge. When they, on the weekends, and on Sundays, when they have to go someplace, then they can charge us $70, like what you were saying. The other thing Diane was saying, we do a lot of out-of-town weddings here. Now, why do we do a lot of out-of-town weddings? Well, she said some other towns charge, the town charges a fee of $40. And she thinks that we may, it's more income coming into the town if we charge someone that lives in Brookhaven or Islip or Nassau County or New York City to come in here and get married, we have a fee of $40 in town fee.
Has she been charging that? If
She
someone's
hasn't been
coming
charging
from
that,
out of town?
but she says other towns,
I just want to say one thing. Believe me, I don't care. In 1847, the state gave the right to 1,000 perform marriages through the clerk's office.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I researched it just a little bit, and it hasn't been an issue for a couple hundred years, so I'm curious as to why. Now, I certainly, as a husband, I absolutely find it an honor to be able to marry somebody, and I appreciate the town board supporting that, making me married also. It was never my intention to make it a job, but a privilege. I've performed rites of burial in this town, I've performed weddings in this town.
You're a deacon, so you can marry
So,
people.
I don't understand why this is even a discussion. I never, I mean, I don't, is it because it's me?
no.
It came out of the blue
No, because when Diane was first appointed,
5 years ago, 4 years ago.
it was in her resolution.
She has
And
to do it
then
every year. She has to do it every year.
years, then as the years went by, it was taken out of the resolution. So
I
I,
was taken out of resolution.
that she got $1.
Well, that's a state
So
law.
that's a state law, that you have to either pay or they can collect. So that we paid $1, or we paid $10, or,
I don't think Diane charges, I don't think Barbara charges.
She doesn't
I
charge
don't think
in
that I
here.
can charge.
but just to make sure that we don't operate like Brookhaven and getting that, in here, if somebody is working, that they should give marriages for free.
I'll be honest with you.
Outside on the weekends, I don't mind the $70.
I get, it's 75, but most of the people that ask me to marry them are friends or relatives.
So it wasn't,
It's,
it was just that.
and I'll take a cold beer afterwards. I don't
Can I
think
ask a
it's
check from Deacon Wooten?
But that as I'm talking to Barbara, I mean to Diane, she said that other towns, that we do a lot of, no, I don't want to leave it, I want to make sure that nobody gets paid for doing a wedding in this building.
Do we have to put that in?
I don't think a board, no, I don't think so. I wouldn't even support that.
Well, you can't vote for them because you have to recruit.
I don't think it should be.
I don't want
Especially
to.
why it's an issue.
I don't know.
It's an issue because I just don't, I want this to be plain that day. When they're in this building, they do not charge. When they're outside the building on weekends, and they take up their own time, they
I don't think.
Are you talking outside the building, like as a town property, or
On
outside?
town property.
Go to the beach. You're talking about town.
During normal working hours.
I don't think it's
Normal
never
working
been
hours.
an issue, and all of a sudden it is.
I
Come on
am.
up, Diane.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're talking about you.
Properties is
Never been an issue, and all of a sudden it's an
No,
issue.
I don't want it to be an issue.
It never was. It never was until the town made me marriage officer, it was never an issue. So it's very personal, so I'm gonna recuse myself from this.
Okay.
Diane, do you charge people when you're married on town property?
No.
She did 5 times though, 5 years when they had to go to a beach on a Saturday.
Right, for outside weddings on a weekend, they're done outside of town.
There's no problem with
I
that.
can charge, and I've only charged maybe 5 times
Yeah.
in the 4 years I've been town clerk.
I just want to
Is
have
there a
it
set
that
fee
we're
for
not.
that, or is it just a?
You can charge no more than $75, and that's domestic relations.
But then we were talking about other towns charge a fee for out of towners.
I have talked to other town clerks who will perform a ceremony in their office and charge as much as $40 if they are not residents of that town.
I don't know if we can differentiate that by much. We could, John, we want to talk to the town attorney to draft the town, let them pass a town code provision to do
Yeah,
that.
for charge to
I don't know
$40.
if you could do it under a resolution.
No, you can't. They have to be 2 separate items. What I'm saying, to get revenue, and we're looking for revenue, is that the out-of-towners that come here, we can charge a fee of $40.
I don't know if you can differentiate between out-of-towners and
Well,
in-towners.
other
I
towns,
I don't know if that's proper.
yeah, but other towns do.
I don't know if that's
But I
proper.
think you had said, John, they come here because they have to pay 40.
That could be a reason.
Right, but why would they come here then if we were 40, they were 40?
They like that.
Then they go up there.
We love Riverhead, we get nice, you know what
Well,
I'm saying, then they
then
wouldn't
they'd
even
stay
come
up
at
there.
all, so.
Yeah, that's right, then they'd stay up there, and she would
So I don't know
have
if we
to
really
many
gain
weddings
revenue anymore,
to
it would be as
perform
much.
here. So that's,
I'm okay leaving it alone. If you want to charge $40, how many weddings do you do here?
Oh, maybe about 150.
Is that state law that says that you can charge $40 when you?
No,
You know
no.
what, you know what, and to be honest with you, I don't know if that's what she charges, just this one particular town clerk for her own. I don't know whether it's, goes into the town coffers or it's her own thing. I honestly don't know. I would never charge, I wouldn't charge here for the town residents here in town hall. You know, I wouldn't charge, I've never charged to do a wedding here. It really isn't my intention to do that. And I know that the former town clerk, Barbara Brown, never charged here in town hall.
Now, we make sure that now we're giving a part-time jobs to people. I just want to make sure it's not charging town, that's all. You understand?
Well, for the most part, I would still be doing the weddings here in town hall. I think for the weddings that people request weddings to be done on weekends, on the outside, at you know, the different catering halls, that becomes difficult. So that's why I thought that maybe it would be good to have an additional marriage officer to help those couples out. They have trouble finding a marriage officiant.
Well,
They're not
I don't
connected
understand why
to.
your deputy couldn't be an official. That's my own personal opinion.
If you wanted it, we gave it to him, but I'm happy to give it to her.
But,
That's the
yeah.
authority.
All right, John, if you want to research further with the town attorney's office about charging non-residents, that's fine, but I'm of the opinion, leave it alone. You guys are governed by state law and what you can charge.
Yes,
I'm
we
not inclined to monkey with that. I understand your thought about charging in town hall. If they say they're not doing it, that's okay with me. If you want to do something where you're charging a $40 town fee, you're probably going to have to do it across the board. That's my opinion. Legally, you're going to have to ask the town attorneys, but if we establish a $40 fee, then probably you're not going to be able to charge anything, and that accomplishes your purpose. That they can't charge in town, because we'll be charging. Well, we'll take it a bit. All right, talk to the town attorney.
But anyway, I'll talk to the town attorney.
We have resolutions,
And,
Tara?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just don't feel that, there's no way to monitor that, there's no way to monitor it, that's, you know.
Thank you.
Huh?
What is,
I'll go get some. I have to make you another place.
dead air. Anybody want to sing a song? Oh, Jim's not here. Oh, boy.
Probably went out that before.
Oh, I just did it already, sorry.
Play back a recording of him singing Summer Wind on my
That's right.
Just line up a wedding. I just did a wedding.
All right. Resolution 1, this is the insurance, not insurance, budget adjustment for the ambulance district, $100,000 that I talked about earlier. 2, increase petty cash to JAB. I don't know why they need it. but that's-
Entering matters, various supplies from entering.
Oh, right, yep. 3, Department of Justice JAB Youth Grant Budget Adjustment, federal aid, because we're getting the income in and paying it out. 4, General Fund Police Budget Adjustment, deferred revenue forfeiture to supplies.
I just, on this last resolution number 3, where it's federal aid, Department of Justice, $55,000, and it goes towards the salaries of the JAB officer. I did request from all the department heads any grant money that offsets salaries within the department or any other funds that come in, because this money, I believe, Bill
No, this
confirmed,
goes
is
to the-
not in the budget as a revenue.
Wait, this goes to the, not the JB also, this goes to the one that's the director of the mentoring matters.
I think
It's
this
a
is in the budget.
$100,000 grant that we got for 3 years, and that's what this is for.
Okay, but I thought that this wasn't in the budget for next year, I'm not sure, but just, I'm waiting to hear back from the police.
But
As
that's.
a revenue,
yeah,
so that
that's
might
the-
be an
that's the
additional.
youth- That's the youth.
I know, quick if you're gonna.
Yeah, well, I
That's
think
the
he's on
youth- what?
vacation, isn't he?
There's not-
To the meeting. 4 o'clock, General Fund Police Budget Adoption Adjustment, $886.
That's what it costs, for the key fobs or something.
5, establishes the 13th Annual Riverhead Bonfire and Holiday Celebration, December 9th.
December 8th, and the rain date is.
Oh, December 8th, you're right. 4 to 10. 6, authorizes supervisor to sign amendment to extend contract with New York State Affordable Housing Corporation for $200,000 to support the Town of Riverhead Home Improvement Project. That's our block grant money. 7, rescinds resolution number 591 entitled Awards Bid for GE Evolve LED Avery Post Top Streetlights. This is the one for downtown that we're putting some now new block grant money in towards it. This is the one that we actually used to put on the streetlights, so we could do those LED. Those LED streetlights are fantastic.
Oh, they look nice,
They really work nice. Like, you.
Saves a lot of electric.
8, budget adjustment, utilities,
This is the one that was already signed, Sean. This is for the
the George Young
the
Community
basement
Center.
heat repair.
Air handler.
While
They
I'm on
fixed
this,
this one.
while I'm at this subject,
Yes, yesterday.
while I'm on this subject, when you look at the Jamesport Community Center, you know, you got the cupola on top,
Yeah.
which needs extensive
Oh, yeah.
work, whatever. But if we can probably, whatever, sandblast, repaint it with holes, because it looks terrible for 5 years, I know we can. And I've worked with the resident in Riverhead that will totally donate
Yeah, that's what
the
he
money
was-
for it.
I don't know why
Ken
he was
is-
doing that. I don't know what happened.
Right, well, what happened was, I guess, in the conversation with Ken, which this person had was that, you know, he agrees it has to be totally rebuilt. But in the meantime, if she's willing to pay for 3 years, I've already got bids on it, and she will pay the amount for it.
Yes,
The board, we'll ask legal how we can let a contractor come and do it, but the money will be donated. So I'll
Well,
talk
they'd
to
have to pay
Ken.
prevailing wage rates.
I don't know if that is a donation. I'm not
It's a
sure.
donation, and the donation,
I'm not sure.
but somebody's actually.
But Ken's coming in next week for, well, Tara, write this down.
Put down.
I want him in next week, or the week after.
Yeah, the next work session.
Or I want to find out the status of our Justice Court Police
Yep,
Complex
RFP,
engineering bid
okay.
and that. And George's thing.
When you told them that the parking, the lights are not working behind the stores on the.
No, they are.
No, they are.
They're back
As
on.
of, Tuesday night.
Yep, they're on.
They're back on.
See how quick Ken is?
Yeah,
Right
okay,
on.
'cause I spoke to Ken and he, said he's getting on it, okay.
8, okay, so utilities, we talked about that. 9, police department budget adjustment, 8 new tasers for the police personnel. Shocking.
Wow.
That always sounds like something Jim would say.
I do
Training expense to training equipment. 10, ratifies promotion of a detective.
This is as per contractual, that they get promoted after 5 years.
11, accepts the resignation of a part-time police officer, Patrick Glenn. Thank you.
I like Glenn, he was great.
Maryland.
Yeah, you've got a job in Virginia.
12, authorizes, is it Virginia or Maryland?
Maryland.
Maryland or Maryland?
Maryland.
12, authorizes town clerk to publish and post a help wanted ad for a part-time kennel attendant.
Did we lose one?
Is she still the same? The dog fight?
Yeah, but, I mean, this is part-time. Did we lose one? Did I leave Jake or Jack?
No. Yes. 13, adjusts metered water district, Calverton Sewer District.
Well, let's go back to this one. I want to ask you a question on a dog. Seeing state law says we need someone that's.
Dog catcher.
Yes. And we don't have one right now. She's out sick.
No, we have,
We
Maureen.
have another one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Part-time.
what I asked you.
She's
All right,
working.
part-time.
Yeah, well,
She's filling in now.
she's gonna, you know what, I think that Jessica's coming back.
Yeah.
She is.
I talked to Jessica this probably another week.
Okay. 13, adjusts metered water reading at Calverton Sewer District. Mike, what is this? I know what it is, but you wanna, Michael, you wanna just tell us what this is, or
Which one?
The adjustment.
just metered
For the
water
building
district
supply.
at Calverton?
There was a water leak on the service that was witnessed by the water district.
There's a letter
December.
attached to, Sean.
They sent me the letter back in June that's attached. That explains the
Okay.
adjustment.
You just went back to their average and you're gonna credit it back.
Okay.
Okay.
14, rejects bids for Calverton Sewer District Extension Number 1, Vernon Calverton Sanitary Pump Upgrades. Was this just too high?
What we did was we redid the bids and then we sent them back out, and yeah, they came in too high. So what we're doing is redoing the bids again, and we're pre-purchasing the equipment to avoid a 20% markup by the contractor. That's what they get.
Right.
So we're looking
So we
to
think we
save-
could come in on the, under where we need to come?
Yeah,
Read this one.
we could say probably,
I'll
I'll
see
guess
this
a
one.
little over 60,000. We could say.
Okay, that's thinking. Thanks, Mike.
Certainly.
15, approves extension of security posted by Birchwood at Wading River LLC in connection with the subdivision entitled Birchwood at Wading River, Section 3.
Yeah, this is Birch River.
Okay, now this was 16 was tabled. What, have we found anything out?
Well, we wanted to know about Maureen's Haven.
No, homeless outreach, yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to
Open
put,
arms
we talked
and-
about putting Maureen's Haven in there, and I think Chris was gonna put Maureen's Haven in and see where we wound up.
So
Want me to grab her,
what are we
Sean?
gonna do with this one? We're gonna,
Well, you don't have to grab, I think we wanted to put Maureen's Haven in. That was-
right, we want to put more in.
What do you want to do?
Chris
Maureen's
to
Haven?
Put Maureen's
Okay.
Haven in and see what happens. We
Well,
make it.
yeah, I know there was a question why it wasn't.
We're 5 and 5, yeah.
So let's tell her to put Maureen's Haven in
Okay.
and see whether they go. All right. Well, now we need Diane back for our
Okay.
board meeting and the town attorney. Do you want to take a 5-minute break before the board meeting?
Yeah, we got one.
Well, we gotta get everybody in here, so let's take a quick break.
Yeah, and I'm diabetic, so I have to be careful.
We need something to eat.
No, I just. Is there anything, did you throw anything else? Just read this These were the old, which they,
We're gonna do the community development first,
It's up to Diane, that's fine.
okay?
Oh, I need another,
Yeah.
I need another.
what were those we just looked at? Oh, they're for next meeting.
You don't want another?
I want that. Whatever you have.
Okay, yes.
You want to do CDA first?
I can't believe it.
I have,
Oh, then you give me two of these, Diane.
I still have one.
Do you need another for Wise or something?
We have only two, right?
There's three altogether.
Well, wait, I only have, two altogether.
Yeah.
Well, is one a companion for the town?
No, it is a little different.
It's the real
This
estate
is-
broker.
Yeah, corporate
Okay.
realty.
Get that conference.
All right, are we on?
We have a price.
Okay, you know what, we're gonna call the meeting to order, we got a special town board meeting, and I would say pledge of allegiance again. John?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, looks like we have two CDA resolutions and one town board resolution. Diane, you want to call the CDA or?
Well,
Sure,
I'd like
go
to
ahead.
make a motion that we would.
Oh, yes.
Special board meeting, that we close the board meeting and open the community development meeting with two resolutions, so moved.
And second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
The CDA meeting is now open. CDA Resolution 17.
Authorize the chairman of the Town of Riverhead Community Development Agency to enter into a licensing agreement for the use of the runway and taxiway areas at Enterprise Park at Calverton for temporary storage of cars damaged by Hurricane Sandy. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution, CDA Resolution 18.
Councilwoman Giglio.
Authorize the chairman of the Town of Riverhead Community Development Agency to enter into an agreement with Corporate Realty Services in connection with a license agreement for the use of the runway and taxiway areas at the Enterprise Park at Calverton for the temporary storage of cars damaged by Hurricane Sandy. So moved.
And second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
I move that we close the Community Development Agency meeting and reopen the town board meeting. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
The town board meeting is now reopened. Resolution 871.
Case everyone appoints a town board coordinator. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
No.
Resolution adopted.
That concludes the, I make a motion to,
Adjourn the town board meeting. So moved.
And seconded.
moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
No.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes. Okay, I think that concludes our business, thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
You have to sign the sheet. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Oh, we got to sign the sheet.
I'm sorry.
Phil, is that agreement ready to be signed?
Sorry?
Is that an agreement ready to be signed?
I'm gonna go work out the little details now.
Okay.
That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope there's not as many as there seems to be.
It's a lot.
You know, I should have said this, on the record, so, listen, media, press, media, I want you to listen to this. I should have said it on the record, and I forgot. We did speak to the DEC. They're looking into this issue. It's our belief, based on the conversations, that because we're parking these cars on asphalt and concrete impervious surfaces, that this is not going to be a problem. So for the residents of the town that think they want to do this in their farms or vacant land that is not impervious surface, the DEC is going to be looking at that. It was our understanding. They don't want these vehicles parked on impervious surfaces. That's what they relayed to us, and if the press could relay that out, they want it. Right, the closed one.
Evil, jump lanes over them.
Yeah, that's right.
So the message